the personal development world trying to reach a larger audience? Are you a motivational speaker, an author, therapist, coach, or business guru tired of pushing out content with little results? Gain more clients and expand your business today. Get your show or content on the best UTV.
Hey, we're back. Best You Expo, day one, Best You Virtual Expo in London. So look, we got more and more guests joining us today and tomorrow and the next day. And we've got people coming from all over the world. I mean, we've got people from Dallas. We've got people obviously from London. We've got people from India, Spain. We have someone, Catherine, my next guest, who I'm going to be introducing in first, and then I'll bring her in. She's in Australia and it's 10 o'clock at night. And you know what? I'm very jealous of these Australians. I'm going to ask her a couple of questions in a minute because, hey, they're partying. There's no COVID over there. Oh, my God. I was talking about the leaders, that we need great leaders. Well, we need to bring some Australian leaders over because, oh, my God, it's been a big mess here in Europe. So my next guest, Catherine Porritt. She is the leading premium and luxury offer business strategist in the world for personal brands and CEOs transitioning for their legacy business. I love that. If entrepreneurs want to know how to create a potent personal brand that sells million-dollar offers to luxury clients, they work with Catherine to achieve this. More than a business strategist, Catherine has a background in entrepreneurship herself, having founded and run 2 multi-million-dollar global companies, authored a book with Penguin Viking, and revolutionized luxury branding and marketing for experts, leaders, and personal brands with her international marketing and hyper-targeting processes based on a luxury business model. So, hey, how are you, Catherine? How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. Like I was saying to you just a moment ago in the green room, I can hear just down the road, there's a little party going on and I'm feeling a bit jealous. Maybe we need to kind of amp things up in here. So we've got a party going on. Let's do it.
Well, absolutely. Well, listen, it's a bit early for us to have a little party or drink, but I remember I was watching the news or something, and it was showing it was the Australian Open or something, and it was showing like 30,000 people there, and I remember looking, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, I know. The Kiwis and the Aussies have done pretty well with this, I have to say, though it didn't feel like it at the beginning. We felt like we were really hemmed in, but right now it does feel quite nice that we're able to head out into the street without a mask on, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much. And thank you so much for what you're bringing. Thank you so much, obviously, for, coming from the other part of the world. And I'm very, very looking forward to listening to your talk. And I appreciate the importance of obviously a brand. I always ask people, if you were in a supermarket, where would you be? Would you be where the £1, resale products are, or would you want to be where the luxury, expensive champagne is? So we're all brands, and I appreciate what you're bringing to us and your talk. What is the title of your talk, please?
We're going to be talking about how to become an icon and really how to leverage your personal brand to become a luxury influencer and really monetize that at the highest levels. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Really deep, good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be listening to it. You've got a 55 minutes. If I'll be here anyway, if you wanted me to come on at the end, ask you a couple of questions. If not, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. And how amazing to be talking about the best you, because what I know is that the best you is way too extraordinary to be playing small and mainstream. I absolutely know that the best you is too good at what you do, whether it's in business or your career or your personal life, to be underselling yourself. And you're way too brilliant and expert at whatever that tiny thing is that you're brilliant at, to be only focused on limited impact. As Bernardo just said, where do you place yourself in the supermarket? And for me and my clients, We're not even in the supermarket. That is mainstream, guys. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because as the best in the world at what you do, you should be thinking big, like big, audacious big, legacy big, like a business that creates multi-generational impact and wealth. So I know that there are a lot of people out there that talk about this idea of going big, but I want you to hang in there with me because I'm going to talk about a bigness that is beyond anything that you've probably heard before. This is groundbreaking, trend-setting bigness in a multitude of ways that you probably haven't heard of before. And I'm hoping to really inspire you to go bigger than you've ever thought possible. So I'm going to show you how to go big and elegant, big and luxury, and big and you, deeply, honestly, you. So not big for the sake of going big. And this is where a lot of my clients sort of come at me and they've been really very successful in their career, or maybe they've had a very successful brand before. And so they're used to this idea of winning for the sake of winning. This is different. This is big for impact. This is big to create a dynasty. So my clients are doing just that, and in a surprisingly simple way. In the last few months, so in the middle of this global pandemic, and yes, I'm in Australia, but most of my clients are in the US, the UK, Europe, or Canada. And for the very first time in those environments and selling to a global market, they've booked pay in full 50K days. So don't get out of bed for less than 50K for the day. They've had their first $1 million months. They've sold their first 250K offers for 3-day gigs. They've worked with celebrities and billionaires, their absolute dream clients. They've been featured in their dream media. They've booked the biggest stages of their lives. They've negotiated incredible sponsorships and commercial deals. So it all sounds great, but what have they done that have made them such a success, even in this turbulent time? The answer is incredibly simple. And I really want you to hang with me here, because I'm going to say a word now that's absolutely steeped in skepticism. They became luxury influencers. And it's what I'm here to show you today. I'm going to turn around this concept of what an influencer is, because I know that your mind is probably going to turn to someone like Kim Kardashian, or maybe it might be an athlete spruiking a product on a television commercial, or maybe even a fashion brand using Instagram to market their latest collections. So influencers at the heart of things are personal brands or businesses that can affect the purchasing decisions of someone else through their authority. So that's kind of all they do, right? It's really simple at the heart of it. They make their money from building trust with an audience and being paid by brands who want to connect with that audience to be the conduit and recommend those products and or services. And while influencer culture is still in its infancy, most of these entrepreneurs have latched onto what we call a mainstream business model. So I was just talking about the supermarket versus where you would go to, say, Harrods, to a true luxury brand marketplace, right? So most of the influencers that you would naturally think of right now sit smack bang in the mainstream market. And they've used that model to market themselves. So they rely on the economics of volume-based marketing. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Because here's the logic in a nutshell. You appeal to as many people as possible, but you only expect a few to convert. And that's fine if you've got massive numbers and you enjoy that type of thing. From a bird's eye view, it makes perfect mathematical sense. And it's probably the way that you've learned how to grow your personal brand or your business or maybe even your career. With the right price points in place, these influencers can still make explosive amounts of money. So Kim Kardashian drops something on Instagram and millions of dollars go through cash registers all around the world. It's like catching one school of fish in a vast open sea. And I would estimate that about 90% of the influencers on the planet adhere to that sort of mainstream marketing, and they're following the direction of someone like the Kardashian model. So those empires are built on volume, right? The mainstream model, it can really seem quite tempting, particularly if you like a big audience, you've got a big message that you want to get out into the market. But if you dig a little deeper, there's a problem that becomes pretty self-evident straight away, because influencer marketing has sprung up as the rising star of digital marketing right now, because the results of digital and traditional marketing have started to fade. So I heard a quote the other day from a pretty famous digital marketer who said that most of the forms of digital marketing now are, I'm going to say this really, really slowly so you really get the emphasis of this point. Most of the results of digital marketing right now are indistinguishable from zero. Like, what? As a marketer, why would you put money into that? And that's why the influencer space has grown, because marketers have a problem. They need to find a way to the audiences quickly, decisively, and with certainty, when traditional and digital marketing just doesn't cut it anymore, right? So in come the influencers. They're the connection point or the conduit between the brand and the buyer. And in many ways, it's worked a treat for those who have an enormous audience. A brand plays the influencer to tell the audience that they love the product, and boom, the sales come in, right? Simple. But while the influencer market has grown in popularity, there really haven't been very many rigors in place to satisfy the brands or the audience, because there's little correlation between the size of the audience and the outcome. Just because you've got a massive audience doesn't make the cash registers sing, right? The correlation comes between the audience and outcome. It comes from the level of trust and authority that the influencer has over their audience. So there's no way to measure that properly. You can maybe look at things like engagement. It's pretty weak. There's social platform engagement measurement tools and all sorts of things like that, but none of them are particularly reliable. And maybe you could look at the metrics from other campaigns, but that relies on someone else having done the heavy lifting for you with an influencer, so that you can see what that campaign was like and try and correlate that to your own goals or results. So for those of you who've been around the traps for a while, like I have, I want to take you back to a similar situation just to give you some context of where I'm sort of coming from with this. So do you remember SEO, so search engine optimization? So if you go back to the late 90s and the 2000s, search engine marketing really started to take off. So Google became a big thing, Yahoo, a whole bunch of those search engines became a place where people went to get their information, as they do today as well. I had a big e-commerce company at the time, so I was playing really big in that space of search engine optimization. I wanted to play that game of, if you put in a certain term, I wanted to be right at the top, right? So this was a big part of our marketing. And I remember at the time that SEO started out, it was so simple. All you had to do was just get a whole bunch of links to your site, and it meant that you had authority with the search engines and you were at the top of the pile. That's literally all you had to do. You could just go out and get a whole bunch of links. It didn't matter where they came from, whether it related to your search, whether they were quality links, all of those things. None of that mattered. Suddenly you had these high rankings on a search result just because you had volume. That was all that it was. But over time, both the brands and the consumers demanded better, because they're going in and they're looking for these key phrases and they weren't turning the results that they were looking for. So the smart people at the search engines had to get this right. And so they became more sophisticated, and the algorithms started to measure things that would mean that the return from that search was actually of a higher quality. So they started to measure things like page engagement, how long people would stay on a website or a web page, the quality of the content, the types of authority from the links that were coming in and the links that were going out, the longevity of the brand, how long the website had been in operation, all of these things, they started to factor into the outcome. And so the results got better for the consumer, the end user. They got better for the brands who were sophisticated and were doing the right thing. And there was no more of this sort of black hat marketing, as we used to call it. And for people who were sophisticated and good at what they did, and for brands who were willing to pay to be right at the top and to put the effort and the energy into really ranking a site with high authority, that got rewarded, right? You turned up at the top of those searches. And that's the way that SEO works today. And I feel, as someone who's been around the traps with marketing for a really long time, that this is where influencer marketing is right now. We're on the precipice of that change, right? So sophisticated brands know it works with influencers who have a deep connection to their audience, even if it's a smaller or more engaged audience. And in fact, it doesn't matter if it's smaller as long as the engagement is high. And brands are desperate right now to find the elite few who really have that deep level of engagement with their audience. And luckily for you, because this is the best you, this is your moment. This is it, right? Being brilliant at what you do, this is the moment to become a luxury influencer and fill this huge gap for brands who are looking for a way to tap into highly engaged audiences and work with people who are brilliant at what they do. They want to be connected with people with authority. They want to be connected with people who have a deep level of engagement and trust with their audience. They want to find a way to market that is simple, effective, and has long-term outcomes. They're looking for certainty, they're looking for longevity, and they're looking to associate with trust and authority. And this is where the first to market luxury influencers in every niche, even the smallest ones, can fill that gap. So if you're exceptional at what you do, if you're an absolute maverick and you're pioneering in your approach, if you can attract a deeply engaged audience, even if it's really small, you can be the first in line as a luxury influencer and commercialize your influence to create a legacy brand. So I totally hear what you're probably thinking right now. I mean, why would I even want to be an influencer, let alone a luxury one? But I just want to remind you of something that particularly is acute right this moment. We're all sitting here at this incredible conference, listening to these incredible speakers from all around the world with such audacious messages, and you're sitting all over the world listening to us. And what that means to me is that we're becoming more connected as personal brands. You cannot escape it. In the age of us all interacting online, there's just no escaping that you are your personal brand online right now. So as a CEO, a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a professional, you have a personal brand, and you can choose to either not leverage it, you can sit on it and you can have people passively find you on social media, or you can choose to step into your greatness and your genius, and you can create your own personal brand in a really elegant way. You can be the most audacious you ever. Your personal brand can give you enormous flexibility to grow, to morph, to change, to create an impact and a legacy. And many of my clients are using their personal brand to literally create their dynasty. So they would like to create multi-generational wealth and impact, leveraging their genius and their gifts. And this to me is the best platform and the way to do it. A lot of people are really concerned that having a personal brand might impact or impede their business, their career, or their lives. I hear that all the time, but my personal take on this is that by creating a personal brand at the highest level and connecting to an audience that you adore and then commercializing it in a sophisticated way, you're able to create even more success with your business or your career or your life. And the time is absolutely now for you to take control of that. This is entrepreneurship of the future. This is marketing of the future, business of the future. This is your legacy play. This is your dynastic masterpiece. But more than anything else, this is fun, right? This is fun. This is you in control of you. You brand you. So you get to be you. You get to be handsomely rewarded for it. It sounds interesting, right? And I promise you that there's no cringy sharing your breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Instagram. It's just not like that, not the way that we do things. If you think of influencers and you're thinking about bikini shots in the beach with the latest swimwear designs from Brazil, unless that's your thing, that is not what I'm talking about here. But for most of my clients, they're looking for an elegant, sophisticated, bespoke marketing system that is perfectly them. And this is what it is, because they've already had the success. They've got nothing to prove. They don't want to muck around with anything that doesn't harness their genius and allow them to live their best life. They're just not into that. And that's what becoming a luxury influencer is like, at least the business bravery way, the way that I do things and the way that my clients do things. But before I get on to how to become a luxury influencer, I just want to give you just a 2-second snapshot of why I even have the ability to talk about this with any level of authority. Because here I am in Australia, 10 o'clock at night, talking with you about becoming a luxury influencer. What on earth does this woman know about being a luxury influencer? I've had mainstream success. So I had another multi-million-dollar business. This is my second one that I ran for 9.5 years. So I won all the big entrepreneurship awards. I had quite a big brand here in Australia. It was a global brand. We were featured all over the entrepreneurship media. I was even approached by Penguin Viking to write a book, and that came out in 2012. I literally had hundreds of thousands of followers and customers. So even before there was a definition of what an influencer was, I was that. But it wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want mainstream success. So before I could wrap some words around what a mainstream influencer was, I knew that I didn't want that, right? I wanted the books. I loved that process. I loved doing media. I love speaking. I love imparting a message. But I just wasn't interested in the volume. So I knew there had to be a better way for people like me who are at the top of their game. And so when I sold that business and I started Business Bravery, which is my legacy business, this is my plaything, my legacy play, my playground. At the beginning, I focused on the things that I really love. So branding, website design, publicity, speaker management. And I was starting a new business that was different to the one that I'd come from in e-commerce. So I did what any good entrepreneur would do. And I went and looked at the market and I examined my competition. And I saw that there were lots of people out there saying that the high ticket offering was at the top of the market. This was the best thing that you could do. These people were selling packages at 8K and 15K and 25K. And that was the very best that you could do in the online information market. And so I went, okay, I'm good at what I do. So I launched at that end of the market and it was really successful really fast. But I quickly realized that I was actually much better than that. And I was really good at what I did, but I wanted to give a really deep level of service to people. And I was the best in the world at business strategy, brand strategy, publicity, all wrapped up and tied with a bow. And I started studying luxury business strategy. And so I added that layer over the top. And I had this epiphany and it literally transformed everything for me. I restructured our branding, our offers, our team, and our targeting. And we very quickly sold our first $100,000 offer. So not $100,000 a year, not $100,000 a month, not $100,000 a year, $100,000 offer. So a supply to one person, service to one person at 100K. And then within months, we became a multi-million-dollar business. So we were an agency right at the top of our game, incredibly fast. And now we really own the luxury influencer space. And we work with some of the most exciting entrepreneurs on the planet to represent them. And we help them to create their 100K, 500K, and even $1 million offers and become the number one brand in their niche, attracting luxury level clients and becoming what we call a luxury influencer. So we've become the place to create, launch, and grow a luxury personal brand. And that's why I know what I'm talking about, right? So it's why I also believe absolutely that the time is right for the elite experts of the world, for people who are absolutely the best at what they do, to jump in there right now, because the market is ready. The brands are ready. The digital space is ready. You're already incredible at what you do. So let's start you on that journey to becoming a luxury influencer. How do you make all of this work, right? This all sounds good conceptually, but how do we do this? So today I want to start with the biggest conceptual thing that I want you to wrap your head around, and that is a luxury business strategy. So luxury brands and businesses, they work from the top down. So a normal, average, mainstream business works from the bottom up. So they work on incremental increases starting from the bottom. And that's kind of how education and society and everything works. It's what we're taught. You start at the bottom, you earn your stripes, you work your way up the ladder, that hierarchical structure. They learn from their market. They look at what the top luxury brands are doing, and they see if they can somehow democratize it and create a mainstream offer for the masses. They work on volume, low margins, and loads of smaller sales. But luxury brands don't work that way, right? Both of these have got good and bad things. So I'm not putting mainstream down. I had a big mainstream business, but I want you to understand the difference with a luxury business. They work the complete opposite way, the antithesis. So if you're absolutely brilliant at what you do, this is the best strategy for you, because you can literally start at the top. You can select the clients that you want to work with, and you can start at the top. So this is what we did with our business, and this is what we do with all of our clients. And it's great news if you're excellent at what you do, but you don't have a big audience right now, or even if maybe you've got a big mainstream audience, but you want to be working more deeply at the luxury level, which is my journey, right? Even better. Because if you're really exceptional at what you do and you've been thinking, oh, I'd kind of love to move into this space. I'd like to write a book, or maybe I'd like to speak. Maybe I'd like to, leverage my brand for something and do something in consulting, or maybe agency, or maybe I'd like to get into coaching, but you don't have a big audience. Then what can I do? How do I get into this thing? Do I have to start at the bottom and give all this free stuff away? Forget about that, because if you're the best at what you do, you can leverage a luxury business strategy. It's the absolute best strategy for you. So luxury influencers start high. They start by creating or leveraging their authority to service a really small but highly influential audience in their niche at the top level. They then build their reputation and they create trends. They then leverage that authority to create scalable products and services in the center. And then once they've mastered that, they move to a mainstream model, leveraging their growing influence for greater impact. So they start at the top, they move to the middle, and then down to mainstream. So we're not getting rid of mainstream. We're just doing it in a completely different way. So none of this is new. This is not something that I invented. That is for sure. This is taking the best of an existing luxury business strategy and infusing that into personal branding and coaching, consultancy, agency type of businesses. Let me give you an example of a luxury business brand that you probably know incredibly well, so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about with this top-down model. So then I'm going to take you through how you can leverage this for your personal brand. So no doubt all of you have heard of Coco Chanel. She started at the highest end of the market in Paris. She was working with the absolute upper echelon of the high society in Paris, royalty, the high net worth individuals. She was custom creating these bespoke gowns, working with the very best artisans in the Parisian market. She earned an extraordinary reputation there, and she had a waiting list of clients. Now, that's the start at the top premium luxury model's first step. So she followed that to the absolute T. Then the next step is to leverage that reputation. So the next thing that the Chanel brand did was they created ready-to-wear collections, and they opened high-end boutiques in some of the smartest locations on the planet. So they really thought about where to select these beautiful locations where high net worth individuals shop, where the fashionable elite shop. And the collections were not custom made anymore, but they were still of the highest quality, just available to a higher quality, broader market. The collections and boutiques were still infused with luxury, such as rarity, scarcity, experience. They were never discounted. None of the tactics that the mainstream market uses. Really high quality, ready to wear collections that are only available for a certain period of time before the next collection comes in. So this constant innovating, right? Constant trend setting, constant creating. Classic on brand, innovating, artistic, pioneer, a maverick approach. Yeah, in the center part, it still exists. Even the top part, middle part, still innovative. And then over time, this led to the more mainstream offerings for the mass market. And that's where licensing comes in. So royalties, licensing, etc. And so for Chanel, the items under license might include things like their cosmetics or glasses or accessories, might be perfume. So keeping the quality high for the mass market appeal. So you've got the bespoke at the high end. You've got where it's really personalized and customized for the elite few. Then we've got the ready to wear collections in the center, which is a more leveraged offer, more available to the masses, but still incredibly high quality and gated off to most people. And then leveraging that authority again to create the third tier of offer, which is the more mass market offer, where she leveraged, or the brand leveraged, licensing. So in essence, that's the model that the Chanel brand uses even today. It's a similar pathway to most business luxury brands. If you study them, it's really similar. Start at the top and work your way down. Think about Bugatti, Ritz-Carlton, Gucci, Cartier. All of those brands work in exactly the same way in that top-down model, which is the complete antithesis to mainstream. And so for elite experts, this method works incredibly well too. We started to experiment with the same model for our clients, and it was incredible what happened. So I represent some really successful influencers who have extremely tiny niches and audiences, and a luxury business strategy allows them to serve that small audience deeply and be extremely well paid for it. So I wanted to see if I could take that luxury business strategy like Cartier or Chanel and use it on a personal brand to allow them to sell at the highest possible level, really pushing things to the next level, creating these massive offers, like pushing towards the $1 million in one offer, these multifaceted income streams, and leveraging their authority in a top-down approach. And smash in 2020 for extra effect, because that's when we started experimenting with this. And for luxury influencers, I swear to goodness, 2020 became a new frontier. In terms of economic uncertainty, of course, our first impulse as business owners is often to drive down prices. You might be thinking immediately, oh, I'll offer discounts. I'll hang on to some of my customers because they're all going to be really worried about the economic conditions and they'll stop spending. But my gut instinct was the opposite. I'm working with these maverick brands and I thought, you know what, 2020 is an opportunity to exceed the already sky-high quarterly goals that my clients have and further cement their legacies, even with the rest of the world in shambles. We gave it a go, a work with rebels, and we tried, and we succeeded in spades. A driving factor behind the success is that they built their businesses to appeal to the 1%, and that's a group that doesn't waver in the face of economic disaster. In fact, if anything, the creme de la creme of society craved one thing in 2020, and it will be the same in 2021 and beyond. The intangible yet insanely potent power of elite services to reach their own personal goals. And they were willing to reach deep into their pockets if it meant enriching their lives with a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And fortunately, this lofty vision of success isn't limited to celebrities or billionaires. So throughout 2020, I witnessed my clients achieve massive profits and enormous success simply by selling valuable and services and experiences to a selective target market, and they had almost no competition. No one else was playing there. Because the reality is this: white glove service will always be in demand. A 5-star retreat for elite entrepreneurs in Hawaii, a private masterclass surrounded by 9-figure CEOs, or a coveted speaker all hold one thing in common. That one thing, they're high-end services whose breadth of experience are like rare diamonds in an otherwise saturated world. That's why in today's economy, a scarcity model holds ample weight. If you are brilliant at what you do, limit your services and the demand will skyrocket. And those who can afford them will invest heaps of money to ensure that they're getting the very best and that they're in an elite club. I want to take just a moment to talk about one of my clients, the amazing Lorna Johnson. So she's the icon in the world of dark consciousness. And unless you're part of this tiny, tiny little community, you probably don't even know what dark consciousness is. She is genius level intelligent. She's mesmerizing, captivating. She's got a deep connection to her small but growing audience. And in 2020, we went high, like higher than even she felt comfortable with. She's a rebel and I pushed her hard. She was selling 10K, 25K packages, but I knew she could do more and I knew she wanted more. She wanted more impact. She wanted more revenue. So in the middle of the pandemic, in the middle of all of the social and economic unrest, we amplified everything. We amplified her messaging. We amplified her marketing. We amplified her packages. We created these 50K day packages. So 50K pay in full, turn up, spend the day with her. 250K 6-month coaching packages, 10 times higher than what she was selling before. We leveraged her brand to create a brand new media arm of her business, and we launched the House of Lux Godhead with her dream magical world at every turn. She flourished. She's brilliant. She had her best year ever by a really long way, and she stepped fully into her genius and her greatness. So when so many other spiritual coaches and icons were stepping back and saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't even sell at this time. So for the brave, we have well and truly proven the theory with Lorna and so many others. And if we can do it in the middle of a global pandemic and economic unrest, imagine where we can take this from here. Now is the time. So how are we going to bring this to life for you? How does this work for you, right? It's all really good for Lorna, but how do we do this for you? How does this relate to you? So I've created a snapshot that you can bring to your brand too. These are really simple and elegant and will feel amazing to implement these little tactics that I'm going to give you today. So let's start. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to step into our status as the best in the world. We're going to have complete and utter confidence in our ability. So if you step into my world at Business Bravery, one of the first rules that you'll hear me say is that arrogance is accepted here. Arrogance is accepted here. I want your ego to step in. I want you to be completely confident in your ability to get an outcome. And I want you to step into your status as absolutely the best in the world at what you do. You're in great company. I work with some of the best elite experts across all sorts of different niches. It can be a tiny, tiny little thing, but you're the absolute best in the world at it. And we're going to find you that market that you can sell to and you can engage with them. That deep level of engagement, that's what makes you valuable to the brands, remember? So this is our first step. So your first step is to step into your greatness as your number one priority. And those who are best at what they do, they don't shy away from their genius. They accept it, they celebrate it, they own it, they step into the world with utter confidence. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's recognizing your gifts and having the confidence to own them. And being able to put a stake in the ground and say, I own this space. It's mine. I'm the best at it. And I'm going to continue to innovate and to grow and to pioneer in this space. Like me or don't. But this is mine and this is me. So maybe you need to learn how to do that with extreme charisma, which is something that we can do if you work with an agency like mine. You can do that. You can be polarizing in a mesmerizing and captivating way, but the stake in the ground needs to be applied for you to become a luxury influencer. So this leads me to something that's really hard to accept, but once you do, your messaging and your marketing will become magnetic and it will become so potent that your audience will not be able to ignore you. You are going to have people abhor your message. You are going to have to polarize and divide. So some people are going to really dislike you. They're not going to like your message. They're not going to like your style. They're not going to like your glasses, the way you speak, your eyes, whatever it is. But you're also going to have a group of people who absolutely are devoted to you. And magnetizing those devoted people is what makes you so valuable as a luxury influencer. And it's damn fun. And you won't magnetize them with a watered down message. Safety ain't going to work here. If you're the best in the world and a pioneer, you need to be pushing boundaries. So you're not looking for the safe path, right? If you're looking for a safe path, go mainstream. This ain't the way to do it, right? But I promise you, if you're truly great and you choose a mainstream path just like I did, you're going to be bored. You're going to be bored. I promise you. I want you to go big and be audacious. Say what you mean. Experiment, pioneer, lead, have a ball. Channel Chanel. You'll magnetize an incredible audience who will love and adore you. And that level of devotion is what we're looking for as a luxury influencer. That's what brands want. They want that deep connection to an audience and a brand that matters to their ideal clients. So get ready to be deeply, honestly you and push boundaries, and you will be absolutely rewarded incredibly well for it. The other thing that I need you to really do is step into this idea of forgetting about competition. So let's start by forgetting about everything that you've learned, whether you've got an MBA or maybe you've been running a business for a long time or you're studying economics or running a mainstream business. I had to unpack and unpick everything, unlearn everything that had become part of my everyday business acumen as a mainstream CEO. I had to unlearn all of everything that I'd learned to really understand and create a luxury business. And it felt really uncomfortable a lot of the time. And one of the first things that I had to understand is that luxury influencers are never concerned about competition. They're the trendsetters, right? They're the pioneers, the mavericks. They're the first to market, so they need to behave that way. So in order to do that, you need to be completely disinterested in the market around you. You need to never look at your competition. You're not interested in what's going on beside you or behind you, because other influencers and other businesses are absolutely going to copy you. That's what mainstream businesses do. They copy what's coming down the line because you're the pioneer. You get to set the trend and then constantly innovate and iterate. And that's what's so beautiful, is that you literally get to practice your craft and never look at your competition. So you get paid to grow. It's one of the best things about being a luxury business owner. Last week, I had one of my clients actually say to me, it's one of the best quotes ever, and it's going to be forever in everything that I speak about, that the best part of being a luxury influencer is literally that she gets paid by her audience to grow. As a luxury influencer, your audience expects to see you grow, deepen your philosophical beliefs, get better at your craft, and they're paying you to be part of that journey and watch you. So you've stepped into this best in the world. You're really okay with this idea that you're going to polarize, and you know that there are people who are going to like you and people who aren't going to like you, and that's absolutely okay. So you've worked on that and you've stepped into your greatness. That is the big number one step. Now, the next thing you want to do is the most fun for me. As someone who comes from the branding world and really loves beauty, I want you to create your magical world. So you need to create this beautiful space for your audience to go and play in. I want you to imagine the perfect world where you get to say whatever you want to say to whomever you want to say it to in the way that you want to say it. You get to create this incredible space for people to come and rejoice in you and your message. It's the moment where you get to dream really big. You're creating effectively a temple for those devoted people to come in and worship you. You need to brand it beautifully. You get to create this gorgeous experience. You want to make it magical. And for some of my spiritual and creative clients, they're literally creating these beautiful magical spaces and experiences for their clients. But I have other clients who are in, for example, HR or maybe addiction or health. It's not magical, but the concept is the same, right? We're creating these beautiful experiences for our clients that are really at the highest end of serving those clients at the highest level to get that deep level transformation. What we want to do is create this beautiful, gorgeous experience that's as high level as possible for people to get what they want. Whether it's a Facebook group, a website, whatever it is, you need to magnetize your dream clients using this magical world, and you'll therefore create these super fans. And what we want them to do is evangelize you, right? So we're looking for them to actually get out there and start talking about, oh my God, this place is amazing. This person is amazing. And this is the stuff that luxury brands get right. You step into a Maserati showroom or you go shop at Tiffany & Co. and you get to have this beautiful, exquisite experience. Attention to detail is paid at every touch point. Hey, Harrods again, right? Amazing. I remember my first time stepping into Harrods and breathing in the history. Amazing spaces. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for in that magical world. And as a luxury influencer, you get to do the same. So if you check out our website at businessbravery.com, you'll see divine animation. We've got this beautifully crafted copy. We surprise and we delight. And even inside just our programs and even just our Facebook groups, we've paid really great attention to experience. One of the first senior hires that I made was our chief experience officer. I put my most trusted person into that job because it is so important, the experience that our clients have in our magical world. And it doesn't need to cost you the world to do this. You can do it with the Facebook group, but it does need to feel extraordinary. And it does need to be a place that your audience can grow and be completely devoted to you. So you've stepped into your best in the world, you're leading this revolution, and you're creating a magical world for your devoted audience. So your next biggest change that you're going to need to make to move from mainstream into creating a luxury business is you need to learn how to lead and not teach. This is really hard. So we talk about this with all of our clients. It's probably the hardest thing because they get excited about the first two things. And then we come to say, okay, now you are not going to be teaching anymore. You're actually going to be leading. So we're going to talk about this. So we talk about this with our clients as they come into every single program where we spend a lot of time coaching them through this because it's hard. You need to practice being the Pied Piper, right? So like I said before, you want to undo all of the competitive analysis that you might have learnt with your MBA or maybe as the CEO of a fast-growing company. What you want to do here is actually turn your back on that. Forget about the people here at the side or the people who are behind you following you or copying what you're doing. Instead, your audience is looking for you to be the Pied Piper, to be the trendsetter, to have your eyes forward all the time and constantly be innovating and leading them. So it's not about turning around and teaching them or even looking at the competition anymore. This is about you innovating, creating, and being the artisan. You actually want to lead and not teach, and this is a really hard concept to get. And if you look at some of the most iconic luxury brands, they always have their eyes forward. They create stunning, new, never before seen experiences, collections, products, services, and your audience wants you to do that for them, which is why being a luxury influencer is actually so much fun for experts because you like making your craft even better, right? If you love new ideas, if you're an extreme innovator, you'll love that your audience is looking to you for the latest and the greatest and the most magnificent. They can get the copies of the mainstream brands, right? But another component that makes you so luxurious is your ability to be an artisan. So that extreme creator, no matter what your niche, so all of this manifests in the idea of advocating beliefs and becoming known for them. So what we're really doing here is we're kind of honing your message and we're getting better and better and better at it. There's no straight line to greatness. This is meandering fun, these philosophical concepts that you're testing on your market and you're becoming really well known for. And we've got your key message and it's becoming your superpower and you're iterating it and you're meandering and having a ball. And yes, we've got to understand the science of charisma, but you can come to a company like us for that stuff, right? PR companies or companies that teach you how to speak. You can learn that stuff. But what you need to be really good at is honing your message and learning to impart it in a way that magnetizes your audience and then has those people become almost evangelical about your message to other people, which helps grow and amplify. It helps grow your sphere of influence. And once you've kind of understood and built all of this scaffolding, which is really actually quite simple once you get the concepts, now it's time to apply the laws of luxury. So remember, you're not mainstream. You're here, which means you are not mainstream. So even though it's going to feel easy to go back and start at the bottom and work your way up if you've done that before, and believe me, I've done it and I've go back there, even now still many times and have to check myself. We are not going to follow a mainstream model. Repeat after me. I am not mainstream. I am luxury. And so we need to own that concept, right? So we're going to launch to a small but devoted audience inside your magical world where you're going to be innovating, constantly innovating your message and testing things and curating this beautiful philosophical beliefs and creating this devoted audience. But now we've got to kind of sell something to them. And that's where these luxury offers come in. So what on earth, I imagine you're saying right now, would I put at the highest end of my luxury offer? What is even a luxury offer? What on earth am I selling? So this is the thing though, a luxury offer is completely different for every single person that creates one. There is no playbook here because you are the innovator, right? There's no cookie cutter. You don't get a system. I'm not going to teach you how to exactly create this for you. But what I can do is I can give you some amazing inspiration today. This is your legacy play. This is where you get to have fun. This is you, your personal brand. Remember I said at the beginning of this is about you being your best you, stepping into your greatness, your genius, and your brilliance. This is why only you have the answer inside of you. I can give you some ideas today, and I hope you get some great inspiration from this. So I want to give you just a few examples of the things that are working for our clients right now and that they've literally sold, so we know that there's market potential for them. So we've got clients across all sorts of different niches and verticals and different spaces. But I want to start with just a few concepts that are really simple. So the first one is a multi-day blueprint. So for example, you might get someone to come together with your client and work with you for say a day or two, and you might give them for 100K, maybe 350K, 250K, spend some time for the next 3 or 4 days working with them deeply to give them an extraordinary outcome. So we've got clients that are selling those for say $250,000. The next might be something like an intensive day. And it's one of the things that a lot of our clients are doing incredibly well. So say a 50K day, like I was talking about with Lorna. Some of the other things that they're doing are longer term. So things like retreats or agency plays like we're doing, or maybe it even might be the more traditional influencer marketing where it's sponsorships or licensing deals. But whatever it is, make sure that you're doing it with your favorite people and that you're really following the laws of luxury. So you can create these extraordinary, exquisite experiences for you and your clients. And if any of this feels like it might be exciting for you, I would love for you to jump on a call with my team. We've got thelawsofluxury.com/call where we can talk to you about your specific circumstances, what you're most brilliant in the world at, and how we can turn that into a luxury influencer opportunity for you. And I can't wait. I really cannot wait. Thank you so much for having me today. Bernardo, this has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I hope it's inspired.
Thank you. No, it's been amazing, Catherine, and you just flowed there so well. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
No, I'm a big fan of branding, obviously, and I definitely want to talk about how you can help us, the best you, and I'm very interested in the concept and obviously what you provide, because I think a lot of the time people, especially a lot of people that I know within the industry that are great and they have, or potentially have so much potential for them to really scale it up. They don't. And again, this is the whole idea of seeking advice, coaching, mentoring, or, getting the services of someone that can help you. So I'm very excited about what you bring. So what does your typical client look like? Just, we've got a couple of minutes. What does your typical client look like then?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're looking for are people who are best in the world at what they do. So we particularly like people who are in small niches. I love working with people who are geniuses. We're building what we call the greatest greatness community on the planet. And so if you're really, really, really good at what you do, no matter how small the niche is, then we're looking for that maverick approach and the ability that I think there's this underlying knowing that you've been put on the planet for something big, but you're just not quite sure how to wrap it all up and tie it up in a bow and get it out to the market and find that audience. That's where we're really good, is taking someone who's genius, creating the branding around that, helping them to sell at that highest level and hyper targeting their absolute perfect clients. So it's a lot of fun, really a lot of fun, and a lot of impact that my team has on the world through what we do.
Brilliant. And I know we had your details there. If you wants to repeat your details to contact you.
Absolutely. So you can find us at lawsofluxury.com/call, or if you wanted to check out our website, you can head to businessbravery.com.
Brilliant. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. Listen, join the party now.
I will. I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, no, I'm going to stick around and listen. You've got some amazing speakers. What a brilliant event. Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel really honored. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for being part of it. Thank you. Great. Thank you. So great presentation from Catherine regarding obviously branding. One of the big things, especially when it comes down to the personal and professional growth and making sure that we can connect with more people, and making sure that we, share the right message and that we transform people's lives. So it's been absolutely fantastic morning so far with the guests that we've had. And now I'm going to be bringing on stage, literally within 5 minutes, we're going to play a very quick commercial, Rob Moore. And Rob is going to share basically a talk, which is how to grow your personal brand as well, which is kind of very in line with what Catherine has just shared as well. And I'll share his story a little bit more, but, we met through mutual friends, and obviously I've got to understand and learn more about Rob, but he's a phenomenal influencer. He has massive expertise, and he's definitely someone that you're going to want to listen to. And I know that a lot of the people that we have here have their own podcast or thinking about having their own podcast. So there's opportunities for you to be able to learn a lot from a man who's right at the top. So we've got a 5-minute commercial. We'll be right back. Thank you so much.
The Best You Online. Featuring in-depth interviews, motivational talks, and inspiring masterclasses from the world's top experts, motivational speakers, business gurus, and thought leaders. Leaders and influencers from all over the world are here to share their knowledge and skills with you. With over 500 speakers, The Best You Online is a priceless mine of personal development wisdom, knowledge, and practical information to help you take charge of your life and take you, your business, and career beyond where you have always wanted to go. The Best You Online.
Tell me what the Olympics, what they represent, and what it was to represent your country. And
to compete for your country at that level it's just incredible, because it's the peak of anything that you could ever wish to do. So although World Championships, Europeans, other competitions were important, for me competing at Paralympics was all I wanted to do. I competed at 5, and when I think about how many friends and colleagues along the way who were all trying to do that, who maybe didn't even get to compete at 1, to then be at 5 was amazing. And I always remember from my first one through to my 4th, always knowing I was going to do another 4 years, that I wanted that moment again, because it's the crowd, it's you have the best in the world who are there, and it's great, huge pressure. And I remember, before each of my finals, being in the sort of warm-up track, about 2 hours before, thinking, what am I doing here? Am I good enough? You ask yourself all those questions, and that's the point where you have to look back at your training and your preparation and know that you've done everything you could. So I like training. Training was good. I mean, it'd be nice to not to have to do quite as much of it, but the only way I knew I was going to have a chance of winning was to train 15 times a week, was to do everything in my life to make sure when I was on that start line I had the best chance. Because after a race at the Paralympic final, you can't say, "Excuse me, can we just do that again, please?" You have 16 seconds, 28 seconds, whatever it is, you have this short space of time to prove that you're good and you can't go back. The mindset and the drive is hugely important, to make yourself train every day, actually, because there are some times when, if it's -5 and it's foggy outside and you have to do 20 miles training, you're not there going, yay, I'm a GB athlete, aren't I? Like, you know, and that there are moments when you get to train in very nice places around the world and it's different. But when you're tired and you've got blisters and you're in the middle of a winter training session where it feels forever before you're going to compete again, you have to have something that makes you go out and do the things you don't like doing. You know, not necessarily the things you like doing tend to be the things that you're good at, but you get most improvement from doing the things that you maybe don't like or not so good at doing. And I think that's one of the things that I was good at, was making myself do the hard graft, because you knew that's all pennies in the bank. It all makes a difference for when you come to that start line. So, you know, my Paralympic career, 5 games, 11 golds, is 19.5 minutes. You know, I didn't have very long to prove myself. So for me, that's why I trained hard, because I knew I had this ultimately limited time to achieve.
What is determination to you?
Determination is knowing what you want. I think being very honest about where you are now, because you have to know your starting point if you've got a goal, if you're trying to achieve something. And it's about not giving up. It's about doing everything you have to, doing things you like doing things you don't like doing. And there's belief in there as well. You know, if you're determined to reach a goal, there will be points which is really hard and it feels like it's not worth it and you might be going backwards. But you have that belief in yourself that you will get there. And I think probably people who know me, they would be polite if they say I was determined. There's other names I've been called as well, but I think it's that ability to push yourself really hard, to believe that you're doing the right thing.
Are you sick and tired of struggling to get your career to where you want it to be? Working with the right coach can be a life-changing experience, and Bernardo Moya is changing lives all over the world. Learn how to create revenue streams, attract higher qualified clients consistently, market your brand, and promote your business to a global audience. Bernardo is one of the biggest names in the world of personal development. He is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and a founder and chief inspirational officer of the Best You Corporation. So fast-track your career now.
Hey, we're back. Best You Expo, Virtual London, day 1. And here we are. My next guest, which I'm going to introduce, I'm going to read first and then I'm going to bring him in, is Rob Moore. And Rob is an entrepreneur, investor, author of 6 Amazon and Audible bestsellers, prolific podcaster, 2-time public speaking world record holder, founder of the Rob Moore Foundation, and he is a self-made millionaire by the age of 30, having seen the riches from being heavily in debt. In his 20s, Rob has retired and unretired countless of times, each time creating a new innovation, vision, a book, or entire company. Through the Rob Moore Foundation, he provides an opportunity for underprivileged individuals, startups, and small established businesses to gain valuable support, investment and mentorship from some of the best in the business, and all of his profits from his book, money, go to the foundation, go to his foundation. So, Rob, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Bernardo. It's a pleasure.
Great to have you here, Rob. Well, listen, I'm very happy that we were introduced by mutual friends. I'm glad we managed to connect. And obviously, I've been following you now all over social media. Well, normally I've been finding you in Clubhouse, very, very busy there. You've got a massive following over there. So congratulations in a relatively short period of time. I've got to the party, well, only a couple of weeks ago. So I'm playing catch up. But congratulations with an amazing career, Rob. You've done extremely well. You're very well connected. You come extremely, not only well recommended, but I think you come across very, very authentic with what you do and your approach to everything that you do. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Bernardo. Just before the lockdown, my hair looked like yours, and now it's in lockdown mode. But I just want to say that's very kind of you. I want to thank Paul for putting us in touch. He's a great friend of mine and yours. And I'm looking forward to sharing some information which I will help and hope will inspire many people to build a vast personal brand and turn their mission and message into global impact and some money to boot. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that would be great. So you've got an hour 15. The floor is yours. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you. So does someone have my slides so that we can go through them? I'm pretty sure you do. There you go. So thank you very much, Bernardo. What an amazing event you hold, and what an inspirational speaker and influencer you are. I'm privileged to be on your stage. Now, I'm going to have to be quick because I actually have the world record for the longest ever public speech of 47.5 hours straight, no breaks. And I've got 75 minutes, and I always want to be respectful of time. So you're going to need to take some notes, no big long intros. I'm going to drop lots of content into your brain in the next 75 minutes. So actually, when people think about podcasting, they think about, oh, I need a microphone and I need to record the audio and I need to publish it on a podcast app like iTunes or Stitcher. Now, I'm going to blow that out of the water because that might have been podcast 1.0, but it's not podcast 2.0 or 3.0. So stay with me on that. I'm actually talking about building and scaling a global brand and building your audience and your impact to the masses with podcasting as the main part of your content creation. So if you could click to the next slide, please, that would be great. So there are 3 elements. So you can click 3 times here. I'm going to talk about the epic rise of podcasting, the current opportunity of podcasting in podcasting 2.0, where we've got that nice hockey stick curve. Some people say to me, oh, Rob, I definitely missed the boat on podcasting. Well, get this. There are, I think, 2 billion Facebook users. There are only 240 something thousand people who have a podcast. So putting it into perspective, it's still a very young media. It's probably only second to Clubhouse in terms of its viral nature of growth. And look, I'm not here to make anyone do anything. I'm here to construct an argument to help you decide if podcasting is right for you. And if you have a podcast, I'm here to help you decide, am I doing enough to grow my podcast? Am I reaching enough people? Am I monetizing it enough? So at the end of my presentation, you're either going to go, oh yeah, thanks, Rob, but you know what? Not for me. Or you're going to go, I'm all in. Don't sit on the fence. Don't be in that no man's land. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you very much. So again, no long intros, but you may not know who I am. So if you could just click through to the end of this slide and I'll cover all of these notes. So you can see there, I have a podcast called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. Now, this is listened to in 242 countries. Now, my head of brand and marketing said to me, but Rob, there's only 192 countries. That's impossible. I said, check out my download data. And it says there are 204 countries. Actually, I must correct that. 203, because one of them is unknown. But Myanmar, Vatican City. I have listeners in Vatican City. I wonder if the Pope's listening to me. Yeah, that would be fun. So yeah, I've created global reach through my podcast. I never created global reach through any of my other channels. Now, I've been building my personal brand for 7 or 8 years. I have about 1.2 million followers across my social media. And that's, by the way, not including my podcast, which actually more than doubles that. But many of my other social channels are really just British followers. But my podcast has given me that global audience. So maybe you want the same for you. So we have, that says our podcasts have over 10 million downloads. That's not correct. It's actually subscribers and downloads. So we have millions of subscribers and downloads. We're currently, the first 3 weeks in January, that's when I did this slide, we were at 345,500 downloads in the first 3 weeks of January. And that was up 8% year on year. It was up 34% month on month. Now, I don't know if you're in Clubhouse. So just give me a thumbs up somewhere. You don't have to write anything, but somewhere you're going to give me a thumbs up if you're on Clubhouse. Well, a lot of people on Clubhouse are saying, oh, well, people aren't on Facebook anymore and no one's listening to podcasts anymore because everyone's on Clubhouse. Well, number one, Clubhouse still only has 2-point-something million users. And number two is I found that I'm getting so many more listeners for my podcast because my kind of listeners hang out in Clubhouse. So as I'm on Clubhouse more people Google me, DM me on Instagram, follow me on the other channels and cascade down into my podcast. So you can actually use Clubhouse and other social media platforms to grow your podcast. Now, I've only been on Clubhouse for 35 days. I have only ever seen one British person who has more followers than me. I have 75,000 followers in 35 days. In the first 5 days, I was not really knowing what I was doing. And it's a really accelerated social media viral growth. And I've found it's actually really pushed my podcast to another level. So that was an interesting observation from myself, because I guess I was scared it might actually reduce my podcast reach. It's actually exponentially increased it. So I'm usually number one in the charts when you go and have a look. There's normally me, Gary V, Grant Cardone, Tim Ferriss, and then How I Built That show by NPR, and then little old Rob Moore from Peterborough, England. So it's actually given me some great positioning amongst the Americans' biggest influencers in business. So I wasn't a celebrity before. No one knew me. And actually, my podcast is probably the thing that has given me the most reach, and maybe I'm most known for, and has reached the global audience. So we launched in 5 years. Our podcast, 5 years old, in dog years is like 150. So I am like a grandfather of podcasting, because it's quite a new medium. It's actually 618 episodes. 618 came out today. So approaching 650, as you can see. But I have a second podcast called Money, and that's done about 200 episodes as well. So I've actually done nearly 1,000 episodes. I can't believe it. No wonder there's a couple of grey hairs going there. Now, I've had many weird benefits. So people recognize me everywhere I go. I never got it because I built the UK's largest property training company, Progressive Property. And that took me, we probably achieved that 2015, 2016. So that took me 8 or 9 years of working 10 hours a day. And I'd get recognized twice a year if I was lucky. Oh, you're Rob from Progressive, 1 or 2 people a year would say. And within 1 year of my podcast, bearing in mind you can't even see my face on a podcast because it's audio only. Every country I go to, in the airport, every time I walk down the street, whether it's Peterborough or London or any city, I get stopped all the time. Not quite like Kev Clifton from Strictly Come Dancing, who's my friend and on my podcast agency, but it's definitely made me way more well known than becoming a multimillionaire, building an 8-figure a year and a 9-figure training company. So it just doesn't really make sense, but it's amazing. So, you know, I hope that you'll take the opportunity as well to get the same impact for yourself. Now, I'm very British. So, oh, no, after you, sir. No, after you, sir. Oh, no, I don't want to run an ad, sir. I don't want to monetize the podcast, sir. Oh, that's very American and un-British. So I regret not monetizing my podcast more. I've run only 11 ads in 620 episodes. And they were all for the same company, Blinkist. Now, they paid me handsomely. And if I was going back and starting again, I know directly I could have made many millions of pounds with ads and sponsorship deals. But I was too British and I didn't want to plug myself. However, I have generated more than £3 million in trickle-down revenue. And what I mean by that is, when I ask my best clients who are mentored by me or in masterminds I've got or programs I have, when I ask them, how did you first find me? They always say they either read my book, Life Leverage, or my book, Money, or they listen to my podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. Now, I have clients my best clients who've been with me many years and bought many of my programs would invest between £40,000 and £125,000 over quite a long time and many different programs, almost like an entire MBA of programs. And when you ask, 90% of them, their answer to where they first found me, their first experience, my books or my podcasts. So I've estimated, and it might be more, I like to be British and reserved in terms of my estimations. I've estimated about £3 million in indirect revenue. Pretty good. I must put a little finger there. £3 million. Not bad for someone who just makes a living running his mouth off. So could we move to the next slide, please? I'll talk about those weird benefits later. So I've interviewed 15 billionaires, world famous sports people who've won world championships. You can see Arnold Schwarzenegger's there. You can see Dragons from Dragon's Den, Lord Sugar, David Goggins, Kev Clifton from Strictly Come Dancing. So I've been fortunate enough to interview the most famous and inspiring people, the biggest actress on Game of Thrones, So if we could click to the next slide, this is a sort of another vicarious benefit of having a podcast is the people you meet. So I have billionaires on my WhatsApp. I actually ran a Clubhouse room with a billionaire just last week, and we're doing a weekly Ask Me Anything now. So how amazing is it to be connected with billionaires and celebrities and actors and, world famous sports personalities? That's something that I never thought I'd get to do. A slightly mouthy guy from Peterborough who was 50 grand in debt in 2005, struggling as an artist. So one of the weird benefits of having a podcast is you actually get connected with billionaires and celebrities and actors and sports people. And that's not just for vanity, by the way. You can actually monetize that and create great businesses and sponsorships and brand endorsements and collaborations from that. Right, so I'm going to do lots of case studies. I'm not going to talk all about my results. I'm going to talk about case studies, some that are case studies in the world of podcasting, some of my clients who are people who are on my agency or have done my podcast Fast Start online course, and people I've helped. So the podcast lore here, so if you click through to the end of the slide, it's a folklore podcast. It's just twice a month only. And from 2 episodes a month, they have 5 million monthly listeners, and they make $6 million a year profit. Now, there are people who hate their job and hate their life and make $35,000 a year and don't see their friends and family. And this guy, he could smile a bit more. He is talking about something he loves in the space of fiction that he'd probably read about anyway. And he's making $6 million a year in profit, and then all these spin-off opportunities like TV shows on Amazon Prime, etc. So if you click to the next slide, I don't know any other model where you can as much turn your passion into your profession. And that's exactly what Stephen Dubner did. I remember reading Freakonomics. I thought that's a really good book. He turned it into a podcast, got 3 million downloads a month, just talking about his passion of Freakonomics, weird things in economics. Then he sold in 2018 to Gimlet Media. And whilst everyone's pretty sure it was 6 million, it might have been more. 6 million for selling a podcast. Like, you could have get this, right? In Peterborough, where I live, just outside London, but far enough out for prices to be cheap, you could get a 20-bed, 10-acre mansion for 2.5 million. And he sold his podcast for 6 million. This is just crazy. I just wish I'd started a podcast sooner. But hey, when was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So now, of course, spin-off opportunities. Once you get a good, decent amount of listeners and downloads, you've got loads of spin-off opportunities. So TV shows, radio shows, quiz shows. And like I said, Stephen Dubner now millions of views. So thank you. If you could click to the next slide. Have a quick sip of water while you're doing that. So yeah, click to the end of the slide so people can read with me. 16 million listeners in the UK, but 150 million in the US. And that's going up 20 to 25% a year, I'm told. And by the way, in lockdown, more people are on the internet. So what are they going to be doing more? Surfing, listening, watching. So now is a good time for you to get started on your podcast where you've got more potential listeners with more people online and not doing other stuff like socializing and not having a life. So they can listen to you could set up a podcast called Get a Life and teach people how to get a life on your podcast. So there's a quick typo there, but I'm not so good with technology and typing. That might be why Bernardo is controlling the slides for me, his team, because he knows I'm not very good with tech. And by the way, I thought you'd have to have a massive studio to do a podcast. This looks like a funky studio here, isn't it? It's not. It's just like a little room above my garage that I've got. So you don't have to have a really professional setup. I've got a little Rode microphone there. That's less than 100 quid. You use a Zoom H1. That's less than 100 quid. So yeah, it's actually 1 billion will be spent on podcast ads in 2021. Now, podcast listeners are more affluent than the average. They're buyers. So that's definitely interesting for you. The average podcaster listens to 9 podcasts, and it's a very intimate channel. Like when you listen to a podcast, you do this. Let me just do a quick demonstration. This is what you do. People are talking into your brain. They are touching your ears. It's a very intimate media. You know, you can hear the intake of breath, the intonation. Now, when you watch a video, you know, you might be 2, 3, 6 feet away, or a bit on and off, but podcasting is a very intimate media. So what that means is you build great rapport. So I'll give you an example. You've never heard of me, Rob Moore, before. Someone recommended, you say, hey, you should listen to Rob's podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. He's a bit mouthy and ranty, but get past that. And there's a lot of good content in there, and I think you'll like it. You listen, you're in the gym, walking, you know, you're running, you're driving when you're not in lockdown, and you binge through 20 or 30 episodes in a week. By then, you're either like, I'm not listening to Rob anymore, he's too much, or you're like, well, I like this guy, I like this content, I'm sold. And then you're likely to consume more than 20 episodes, maybe 200 episodes or 600. And then there's this trust and this connection. So I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but you feel like you really know the interviewer or the host. And then there's all this remote goodwill built. Because here's the thing. Let's say you want to buy a house. I've got to go and view that property. No, your price is too cheap. I've got to go and view another property. Oh, no, your price is too cheap. But you could have one podcast that you recorded for 30 minutes in your little room. And then that could get listened 1 million times. And you only had to record it once. You didn't have to record it or speak it 1 million times. It's really great remote leveraging goodwill. And that's why when you ask all my top customers, where did I find you? Where did you find me first? When I ask them, the podcast comes up a lot. Now, if I went, hey, buy my podcast course right now, you might go, well, no, why should I? You've interrupted me. You're selling to me. Whereas if you're choosing to listen to me in the gym, in the car, when you're walking, when you're running, and you listen to 50 episodes and you get to know what I do, you get to choose if you want to do it or not. And if it's right for you, you make the decision. And if it's not right for you, you don't. So it's the age-old adage of people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. So this is why actually my revenue, my income and my sales work best from my podcast when I don't sell, as opposed to having to knock on their door, cold call, saying, hey, buy my podcast course, or hey, buy my mastermind or my mentoring. So it's really great, sort of very gentle way of selling if you're not really into selling and you don't like selling. I like selling. You should like selling. If you've got something you believe in, you should sell it. Like I want to shout from the rooftops about podcasting. I honestly think anyone is crazy if they don't have a podcast. I think they're insane to do all the managing, the editing, the uploading, the hosting, the syndicating themselves. They should be doing content and interviews, and I passionately believe in that. So anyway, I digress. Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, you can click through all of these. So, right, what have we got here? Many podcasts, even not that big podcasts, can earn up to 38 grand an episode. I'm going to give you some examples in the presentation. CPM, cost per mille, basically per 1,000 downloads, the industry will give you about £20, $25. I get £105 per 1,000 from Blinkist because it was a sponsorship and not an ad. And I'm going to talk about the difference in a moment. UK listeners listen to 6 hours a week. So actually that cost per 1,000, you'll end up getting more revenue because people don't just listen to one podcast or 1 hour of podcast. So you've got a listener, but they're listening to 6 hours a week. So let's say you had 1 million listeners, that's 60 million hours a week. So you've got some compounding there when people listen to more of it. Podcasts, as I said before, are growing 25% year on year. There's a huge spike in listenership because of the lockdown and the quarantining. It's a very young media, like probably only Clubhouse is more viral at the moment. And many individual non-famous people like me have bigger shows than national radio stations. It is mind-blowing, the power of podcasting. I just wish I started sooner. Although saying that, it's my 5-year anniversary this month. So happy birthday to me. Next slide, please. All right. Now, I'm not here to force you to have a podcast, but I'm doing a really bad job if I can't show you the amazing benefits of having a podcast. So if you can say yes to any of these, you should seriously consider starting a podcast now. So do you have an existing brand? Just give me a yes at home if you do. Do you want to leverage that brand more locally, nationally, globally? Give me a yes. Do you want to position yourself as an expert in your space? Do you want to celebritize yourself? Give me a yes if you do. I hope you're not embarrassing yourself saying yes in your living room on your laptop. Have you got a passion or a message you want to get out to them? Bernardo, he doesn't mind the camera. He's good on camera. He's not an introvert. Myself, I don't mind the camera. I'm not as good as him. I'm not as good looking as him, but I don't mind it. But what if you're a bit of an introvert? You don't like video, and you're like, all these people are doing TikTok and Instagram and Reels. I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I want to edit it properly. I want to make sure that it's right. Podcasting is your dream medium because you can edit it until it's right. Your medium for those of you who haven't yet mastered putting yourself out there and aren't all showy and ranty and starry and celebrity. It's amazing time leverage. So have a guess, which podcast episode numerically do you think has had the most downloads for my show? I reckon you can guess this, even without me telling you the famous names of the guests. Which episode has had the most downloads? Number 1, number 618, or anywhere in between? So my guess is you guessed number 1. And you would be right. Why? Because it's the oldest one. But if I had a banana here and you came back a week, that banana would be gone off. So that banana would last a week. But the older my podcast episode is, as long as I'm evergreen with the content, which I'll talk about later, the older my podcast episode is, the more downloads. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like a banana that never goes off. That's a terrible analogy, I know. But there's huge time leverage. I did episode 1 5 years ago. It took me 25 minutes and I'm earning off it still today. And I've been earning off it for the rest of my life, probably, or at least until it goes out of date. But it's called How to Do What You Love. So that's never going to go out of date. That's not going to go out. That's going to be like Think and Grow Rich. That's not going to go out of date for 100 years. So now get this right. I love property. I have nearly 1,000 units under management in my property companies. We're developing 142 units there. 20 in dollars, £25 million development. Dollars, $25 million. In London, that'd be £200 million. So it's a big development. And you've got planners, you've got refurb teams. We had a refurb team go bust on us. We lost 325 grand of our money. Thankfully, we had enough money to absorb that, but that wasn't very nice. You have tenants and boilers and issues. People trash your properties. You don't have any tenants with the podcast. You don't have any boilers. You don't have any planners. You've done the episode, and there it is. It's like a little asset earning you revenue streams and growth and rapport. It's absolutely brilliant. I think there's 3 or 4 more points on the slide. If you could just click them, I think they pop up on the right. So can you say yes to wanting to make more money in your business? I mean, come on. If you want to make more money in your business, you need a podcast. If you want additional semi-passive income streams, you need a podcast. If you want more customers, more followers, more fans, and you want them all over the globe, even in Vatican City and Myanmar, you need a podcast. And by the way, people say to me, but Rob, I don't have a product yet. Perfect. Set up your podcast, build a listenership, and then when you launch your product, launch it to your podcast and sell a load of products through your podcast. Got you back. Next slide, please. What have we got here on the next slide? Right. If you could click 3 times, please. So people think, oh, do you know what? You need a BBC studio. You need all these mixing desks. Well, I use a Zoom H1N that you can see there. Where is it? Here it is. Now, by the way, I do have some, I have a studio in the office, a studio at home, as I'm fortunate enough, to be able to afford to do that. But some of my ranty episodes, Rob's rants and my caffeine casts, I do on my old school Zoom H1, $100 on eBay. Job done. That and the clip-on mic. That is good enough. A phone isn't good enough, by the way, but that is good enough. I've done a third of my episodes just on that bad boy. In fact, if I was wanting to have this episode on my podcast, I press record on the Zoom. I'd clip this in there. I'd go, thanks for Bernardo and having me on the show, the Best You Expo. I'm going to do a live talk on podcasting, and then I would record it and put it on my podcast. A podcast talk about podcasting on my podcast. There you go. Good leverage there. So I use the Zoom H1 a third of the time, 100 quid, $100, job done. You probably want to do 30-minute episode a week. Some people do a 30-minute episode every 2 weeks. That's up to you. But I reckon once a week, 30 minutes is the ideal time because it's the normal commute length. And then you need it hosted. So we use Omni Studio. I have an admin team that do that. I actually didn't even know what all these buttons did. And I just got my team to set it up. They host it for me, syndicate it for me, upload it for me, get it across all the channels. We're on Alexa, we're on Siri, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Amazon Podcasts. That's been a recent addition, because I believe you should focus on getting great guests and doing great content. Everything else, you should either learn once so it's easy or leverage it out. Thank you. Next slide, please. Cheers. Cheers, everyone. Right. So you might be thinking, what could your concept be? What's my concept for my podcast? Rob's is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. What do I want to do a podcast about? So you could fill a specific niche, but keep it wide. So entrepreneurship is quite wide, isn't it? There's lots of people who want to be an entrepreneur. But I called it the disruptive entrepreneur. So it's specific but wide. I've got some clients in my podcast coaching program. And one lady she wants to do a wedding podcast. And she wanted to call it Wedding Zen. And I thought she was trying to make it a bit too tight. So I said, why don't you call it the Wedding Podcast? She's like, oh, that's taken. I said, why don't you call it the Wedding Show? And she's like, great, that's not taken. So the Wedding Show. You could literally dominate the wedding industry with a podcast title called The Wedding Show. Okay, the next kind of concept is interviews and conversations. You could do your name like Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or Rob Moore. You could do a passion or interest like health, well-being, meditation. You could do motivation, health, mindset, business, parenting, COVID. My friend Dan Gregory has gone viral doing lockdown pandemic podcast. He calls it the Pandemic Podcast. You could take your existing business. So I have a business called Progressive Property, and I could have a Progressive Property podcast, for example. So there's lots of different ways to create content. And I can help you with that, by the way, so stay with me. You know, I've launched 125 podcasters, and I've trained hundreds more, maybe 600 people on starting and scaling their podcast. So I'm very experienced. I know many massive podcasters. I've been on hundreds of podcasts as a guest myself. So podcasting is my guilty pleasure. I'm a secret podcast geek. Right, I've got a couple of hacks here for you. Number one is keep the title max 3 words, because then it's easy to share and easy to search. So if I said to you, I've got a podcast called Money, you could remember that and go and tell your mum, your dad, your kids, your friends, your colleagues. Whereas if I said I've got a podcast called How to Win Friends and Influence People, especially 5-year-olds and 9-year-olds, you're never going to remember that. Also, short titles come up well on search. So if my podcast is called Money, anyone who searches for money, my podcast is naturally going to come top. So it's a little hack there on titling it. The next thing is, and I do this a lot, by the way, when you record, so let's say I'm going to do a podcast now. And let's say I'm going to do a podcast on how to do a podcast. I'm going to record it on my Zoom H1 here. And then I'm going to go live on Facebook, or I'm going to do it as a speech with Bernardo. Now, I'm not recording this for anything else because this talk is exclusively for Bernardo. That would be disrespectful. But let's say I was posting it live on my Facebook page, which I often do. Gone live. Hi, it's Rob Moore here, and I'm going to do an episode on podcasting, how to start, scale, and monetize your podcast. Here we go. And I do it as a Facebook Live, and I have it on audio. And then when I've finished, that will then be published as a Facebook Live. I can then save the video, send it to my team. They can put it on YouTube, edit it for LinkedIn, cut bits for Reels and Stories and Instagram. And then all of a sudden, I've got a multimedia leverage on 30 minutes on a podcast. So the old type of podcast, it used to be audio. Now, I want to get you changing your mindset here, so stay with me. Don't think audio, think media. So let's go back 30 years. In the UK, there were BBC 1 and 2, ITV, Channel 4. So 3 media companies. And they owned a lot of the radio as well. And, you know, you had a couple of older white males who owned most of the media in the country, radio, TV, newspaper, magazine, and advertising. And if you wanted to get in and advertise media, that will cost you tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds, and to get on TV, millions. And so you had no chance. Little old you and me, no chance. But get this now. There are 8 people making millions as podcasters. There are people making hundreds of thousands of pounds as TikTokers and Instagrammers. You ask people, what do you do for a living? I'm an Instagram influencer. Eh? I mean, imagine that 20 or 30 years ago. You are now a media company. Your podcast is not just audio. It's YouTube, Instagram, Reels, TikTok, stories, LinkedIn videos. It is your whole media empire. But get this, you don't have to record the content 10 times for 10 platforms. You do it once on a video. Video there, audio there, 2 in 1, 10 in 1. Job done. So I get a bit excited, but this is awesome. Well, I think this is awesome. I'm not saying you think I'm awesome. Hopefully you think I'm awesome, but I think this is awesome. Okay, right. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, you could also find problems that need to be solved. Go solve them. That's your podcast concept. Right. Whoa, there's lots here to cover. How to generate great content. I'm going to pick a couple of those. Do you know what? Screen grab that. I've only got 75 minutes and I always like to be respectful of time. I could talk to you for 3 days straight on podcasting, even if I didn't go off on tangent. Remember, I've got the world record for the longest speech. I've actually, Bernardo said 6 best-selling books. I've actually written 17 books. I've co-written 2 or 3, ghost-written a few, and then fully written a few. We got Life Leverage to #1 in all books. We got Property Investing Secrets to #4 in all books, behind 50 Shades of Grey 1, 2, and 3. That's pretty good. And, not just in the cross-stitching for left-handers category, but actually in all books. And my training company, Progressive Generate, has generated over 9 figures and does about 8 figures a year. And that's in information. So, I've always been prolific at giving out information. That's why I can teach you like 15 different ways to create information. So if we go back to that slide, I'll pick a couple of them for you. I can't cover them all. I don't have time. So let's go crowdsourcing, the first one. So crowdsourcing is where I ask you, hey, what are your big pains and problems around starting your podcast? What would you most like me to share when it comes to monetizing your podcast? And you would send me some messages or do a little vote on a poll. And you would say to me, like, oh, Rob, how do you monetize your podcasting without doing ads? Or you would say, hey, Rob, how do you avoid sort of a mental block around doing content? Or how do you make time in your diary to do another media platform because there's so many? And then that becomes my content. So that's a really great, easy way to create content that can help you with creating content, but B, content that your listeners want. Right, what should we do next then? Let's do rants. So when I go off on a rant, like full on, I get excited all the time. But when I go off on a rant about something, people love it. And my rant downloads are higher than my big guests. So I've had billionaires and some of the most famous people on the planet, the most famous actress in Game of Thrones, David Goggins, Jordan Peterson, most of the dragons. Yeah, my rants, they are my highest downloaded episodes. Now, by the way, when I rant, I don't name and shame people or criticize people. I just take a subject that I think needs ranting about and I rant about it, like haters or stuff like that. So people just seem to love those episodes. So let's move to, by the way, I've got 14, I think, different content models. But I need to move on to make sure I finish all of the content that I've got. So if we click to the next slide. Right. Now, this is the one everyone wants to hear about. Now, I'll be honest with you. I had already become a millionaire by age 30, decamillionaire a few years later. And so I didn't need to monetize my podcast. Don't get me wrong. If someone said, Rob, I'll give you £5 million in the next, of course I'd have taken it. But I didn't go with the outcome of monetizing my podcast. And I think that's good because I was able to create good content. But you know what? If I was going back to the start, even if I didn't need the money, I'd be a bit more savvy and wise, and I'd figure out a way to monetize it. And I'm going to share that with you. So I've got 14 or 15 ways to monetize your podcast, and there are always new ways. So could you click to the end of the slide again? Again, I don't know how many I could, perfect. Oh, it's the first time you've gone past the slide. I was going to say, this is brilliant slide control. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 or 7 there. Let me pick 2 for you. I'm going to pick sponsorship and paid monthly. I'd love to cover them all, but again, I've only got 75 minutes. So ads is where you're doing a podcast and then dynamically inserted is an ad for mattresses or an automated investing bot or some like a money management company. And it might not be on brand with your concept. And for me, there's a bit of a disconnect there. That's advertising. Some American podcasts have 4, 5 or 6 adverts at the start. And look, they make millions. So maybe I should be a bit less British. But I prefer the sponsorship model. So my great friend and client, Shah Wasmond, I'll tell you about her in a moment. She bagged 25 grand of sponsorship before she even launched episode 1. And I got a sponsorship deal with Blinkist. And they took 11 episodes. And they paid me to start with £105 per episode. And then they went to it's not that, it's much more. They started with £105 per 1,000 downloads. And then they went to £120 per 1,000 downloads. And as you saw, I've had tens of millions of subscribers and downloads. So you can do the maths on just 11 episodes. But the reason I like that better is I would promote Blinkist anyway. Like I love Zoom. I love Audible. I love Blinkist. I love Apple. They've had a lot of money out of me. I love Alexander McQueen. I love Patek Philippe. And I would just tell you about them anyway because I love them. And I like to approach companies that I love anyway and I'd want to shout out anyway. And because normally that passion comes through and they want to deal with you. And they pay you much more. They pay you 5, 6, even more times the normal revenue per 1,000. So I prefer sponsorship over advertising. Let me pick one more, paid monthly. So you could do a podcast. So, my podcast, A Disruptive Entrepreneur. Let's say I did an interview with a billionaire. And at the end, I could say, hey, look, if you love the Disruptive Entrepreneur podcast, we actually have a Disruptive Entrepreneur community. We do private meetups. We do monthly mastermind Zooms. We launch stuff to you before anybody else. We give you special discounts on events and merch. All you need to do is go to robmoore.com/podcast and come and join the community. And then I send you there and then you join either a $5 a month, a $50 a month, or a $500 a month, or all 3 levels you could offer. And then you're into a monthly subscription. And people make hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands a month doing that. And it's a really soft sale. It's just it's not like really hard pushing an advert. It's a really soft sale, but it's a really, really powerful way of building some vast monetization and getting the data of your customer off podcasting. Did you see Donald Trump? Facebook account shut down. Twitter account shut down, like something like 90 million followers. Well, if you have them all in your email database and you have them all on your subscription, you're paid monthly, you own all the data. So you can convert a lot of your listeners into data and cash. And by the way, there's loads of ways to do that. Supporter program, Kajabi, Patreon. Patreon is amazing, that strategy. I'll see if I've got time to talk to you about that later. Okay, next slide, please. I think it's more about monetization. Yeah, John Lee Damas. So John Lee's a friend of mine. He interviewed me on his show. I interviewed him on my show. This is a bit out of date now, these stats. So about 2 or 3 years ago when he interviewed me, he was making $50,000 a month, $600,000 a year. He's actually making now more than $1 million a year. And he actually publishes on his website exactly how much money he makes and where he makes it from. And you can even find it on his own website. So he's got full disclosure on that. So if you click again through this slide, and that's just, it used to be, now that's cool. Yeah, the next slide is cool. That used to be just selling sponsorships. Now he has a podcast course and he has a whole funnel, an ecosystem. So once you build your podcast and you do your sponsorships, your ads, your endorsements, your Patreon, your monthly, recurring revenue models. Then you can build a funnel and do podcast courses or mentorships or masterminds or retreats. Honestly, it's virtually limitless how you can monetize your podcast. Okay, so the Mysterious Universe podcast, 1 million downloads per episode. I think if there's a couple more clicks on this slide, $40,000 a month, $500,000 a year. No wonder the lads are smiling. I'd be smiling. $500,000 a year talking about the universe, debating the universe. And by the way, they don't even run a single ad. It's not even an ad. It's purely from saying, hey, come across to my Patreon. Hey, come across to this website and come and join the community and get some behind the scenes content and get a few bonus episodes. Really simple, clever, and impactful. Okay, next slide, please. Let me pour myself a little drink here. Right, so there's more. Yeah, go right to the end. There's way more ways to monetize your podcast. Let me pick one of these. It's hard to pick one. How do I choose? Well, one of them I'll cover later with Pat Flynn. So I'll do the selling of your show. So Joe Rogan sold his show, just the rights, not the full autonomy and control, but just the rights to his show to Spotify. I get Shopify and Spotify mixed up sometimes. Spotify, have a guess. $100 million. $100 million. $100 million. I'm a lover, not a hater. I love success, and I'm not a jealous or envious person. But when I heard Joe Rogan sold to Spotify for $100 million, there was 10% of me that was so jealous. But do you know what? I've worked that out because I know his download figures and I know mine. That makes my show worth many millions of pounds already. And, we've only just really, in the world of podcasting, we're still quite young. So that is exciting. So Stephen Dubner sold Freakonomics for $6 million. Gimlet Media and Spotify are out there buying up, companies in podcasting and individual podcasts. Russell Brand got sort of essentially bought out by Luminary and, making massive residual income. This is such an exciting world. Honestly, there's so many different ways to monetize your podcast. All right, next click, please. Okay, how do you scale your podcast? Because look, if you love what you do and do what you love, I know you'd want to create a podcast on it. But if you share your message and only your mum's listening, you're not going to be able to monetize that so well. Just quickly, let me shut the window because I get hot speaking because I get too excited, but I can hear some people outside. So I'm not going anywhere. Don't you go anywhere. Honestly, don't they know I'm doing the BU Global Expo, streaming out to millions of people? Please. They're my neighbors. They're lovely. They probably hear me shouting and don't want to hear me shouting. All right. So how do I scale my podcast? So first off, you've got to start the thing. Start now, get perfect later. Then you've got to create the thing, with the hosting and the uploading and the syndicating. Then you've got to have some content to share there. Then you're gonna monetize it, and then you're gonna want to scale it from local to national to global, from 10,000 downloads to 1 million to 10 million to 100 million. Oh, now by the way, you can monetize a podcast with just 10,000 listens in total, and if you did 100 episodes, then that's just 100 downloads an episode. So when I say some of these big figures, don't get scared out. If you've got a good niche, a tight niche, you only need that. I don't know if you've read 10,000 True Fans. You don't need millions of downloads, so don't get scared when big numbers come out. But I just want to show you the infinite possibilities of podcasting. Okay, please could you click to the next slide? Thank you. And we've got, I think, 5 points on this slide. 1, 2, yeah, there we go. Right, again, I can't cover them all. Let's have a look. So actually, I might be able to. So I have money to invest. I spend £350,000, £400,000 a month on marketing for my training companies. So do you know what? I'll be honest. I thought, this podcasting game is going to be easy for me because I'm going to run Facebook ads and Google ads and YouTube ads, and I'm going to get millions of listeners running my ads, and I'm going to overtake everyone and have a podcast that's bigger than Jesus. It didn't work. I spent 50 grand-ish on ads, And you know what? I wasn't really getting much uplift. There wasn't really a return. But that's actually good news for you. Do you know why? Because organic growth is actually much easier than spending growth. And therefore, you don't need to spend any money to grow. Here's what you need to do. And this will work, by the way. You must be consistent and do 1 episode a week. Commit to doing 1 episode a week. It's actually not that hard, but you must be consistent. The second thing is when you do go live with your podcast. So today we went live with John Lee DeMass. Monday we'll go live for the founder of Reebok. You must post it everywhere. Put it on your Instagram stories. Put it on your TikTok, on your Reels. A little video on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Post in your Facebook groups. Post in theme groups. If you do that consistently, you'll pick up 100 listeners a time, and then they'll share it. And then you'll go up in the rankings and in the search, and you'll get this compounding growth. Now, I don't like the title kidnapping. This is an American phrase for this strategy, but it's really clever. I interviewed Jordan Peterson when he was at the peak of his fame. And on the podcast, we got great downloads. But on YouTube, one video got 2 million views. And then a few little re-edits and cuts. We got 5 million views from Jordan Peterson's podcast episode. 5 million. So when you do the video and the audio, you get double whammy. And sometimes the YouTube video is a bit meh, but the downloads are awesome. And sometimes it's the other way around. This is why I love doing video as well as audio, because you get sort of 2 bites at the cherry. You get maximum leverage. Now, when I went live with Jordan's interview on my podcast, 95% of those listeners were my audience. When I went live on YouTube, 95% of the listeners were his audience. So I got all these new listeners who follow Jordan Peterson now following me. So this sort of getting good guests and then doing the video. You could just do a StreamYard. This is on StreamYard here, this expo. You just do it on StreamYard or even on Zoom. And then you put it on YouTube. You get massive leverage and growth there. So I'll drink to that. Your best source of new podcast listeners are already listening to a podcast. So go out and do some podcast interviews yourself. Be a guest. I've been a guest on, I don't know, 150 shows. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing 1 a day. Sometimes I'm doing 2 a day. Maybe 150. And you know what? Some people have done way more than me, and I'm going to do more. Clubhouse. Got to talk about Clubhouse. Clubhouse. We do a weekly room on podcasting every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I want to do more. You could do a weekly room on podcasting. You could go and talk on Clubhouse in rooms and weave in your podcast through your content and your stories. Clubhouse could be massive for you growing, 10,000 listeners, 100,000 listeners, 1 million listeners. I mean, already there's 5,000 people in rooms on Clubhouse. You could get 3,000 listeners in one room. So it's very exciting time, very exciting viral growth of Clubhouse and how you can leverage that. Like I said, my podcast downloads from December to January were up 34%. And I'm pretty sure most of those were because of Clubhouse. So yeah, Clubhouse. In fact, I am a Clubhouse junkie. Let me have a look how many followers I've got. Has it gone up? Oh, it's 75k yet. Or 74.8. Honestly, it's so viral. It's very exciting. Okay, next. So I interviewed David Goggins on the audio, put the video up, 370,000 views so far, one video. And by the way, we've done many videos. And by the way, when I say I've done many videos with Jordan and David, I don't go and interview them again and again and again. I just take the best bits out and republish them on YouTube. Next slide, please. Next one is this Grant. Yeah, it's Grant. So we probably had 500,000 views from the Grant videos we've done. Next click, please. Grant's a good friend of mine. I was talking to him for about 35 minutes yesterday. David Icke, over 1.5 million views on one video. We've had at least 5 million views on all the videos we've done with David Icke. Next click, I think, is Jordan. And that's another. There you go. Look, another David Icke, 750. That 750,000 was a cut of the previous 1.5 million. And next click. Jordan, 1.9 million views, one video, which was a recording of one podcast. Okay, next slide, please. How are we doing for time? I've got 22 minutes left. Okay, great. So there are, if you just leave it here for the moment, please. There are 3 ways you can work with me. You could join my podcast media mastermind, where we have a quarterly meeting of a mastermind meeting with me and about 120 or up to 120 other podcasters. You could work with me on my Podcast Faster online masterclass, or you could work with me on my podcast agency if you want me and my agency to do it all for you. Now, by the way, 5 years ago, I didn't even have a podcast. Then I become one of the biggest podcasters in the UK. Then I set up a boutique podcast agency. Now we're one of the biggest podcast agencies in the UK. So you can see how media is really growing. So the Podcast Media Mastermind, by the way, the Podcast Media Mastermind is not cheap. It is only for committed and serious people who do masterminds, who understand the power of masterminds and mentoring and working with serious, committed people. So this is really only for you if you kind of want to go big and do it seriously, not if you've just got, you know, a little side project that you're like sort of interested in. So myself and many other successful podcasters host this every quarter. If you could click to the end of the slide. It used to be face-to-face, but since the lockdown now, we run it globally online. We give you the latest technology, the latest updates. So Amazon launched Amazon Podcasts recently. Obviously, when you could get podcasts on Siri and Alexa. So every month we're updating you on new market updates. Networking and collaboration opportunities with up to 120 successful podcasters. Many of them 100 or 300 or 500 episodes in. We get celebrity keynotes in the world of podcasting every quarter, sometimes even famous people. Going back, it's actually going back 3 years, every single recording you can get. And like I said, it used to be quarterly in our offices, but now it's actually online. When we go back face to face, you can come to the offices for the networking, but we'll also live stream it. So like I said, this is for serious people only. This is not for sort of hobbyists. Because this is a £6,000 plus VAT per year program, and it's currently invite only. So if you are interested, we can talk. And I probably could do you a bit of a special offer, you know, as a thank you for Bernardo letting me speak today. But if you're interested, you're going to need to contact me towards the end. But stay with me, because I can make it a bit sweeter, but I'm looking for committed people. I don't like doing discounts normally because I want committed people. Okay, next slide, please. What have we got? So I launched Catherine Turner's podcast. She's, you know, she won't mind me saying, she's just a normal person like me, not a famous person. And she got Life Leverage to #1, above Tim Ferriss, above Nat West. So if you could click to the next slide, I think it's a couple of clicks. So it's been pretty special for her. Yeah, click through to the end. That's perfect. Just an ordinary person with like an outsourcing VA business. And we got a podcaster #1 in 4 hours. She completely copied my launch model. And she's now using her podcast to sell products and services, you know, her online VA courses, her VA agency, and she's got her own lifestyle leverage summit coming up. Please click next slide. So podcasts make ordinary people very successful. Okay, now, some people will say to me, yeah, but Rob, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Clubhouse, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I haven't got time. I bet you scroll for more than an hour a day. I bet you do. So give me half an hour a week. That's all you need. Well, no, to get started, you need a bit more time. You need to do a bit of a binge, listen and watch to get the information to start. Maybe it's 12 hours to start, but then you only need to commit half an hour a week. Now, normally if people said, oh yeah, do half an hour a week and, you know, you could be successful and you can make money and you can build a business, scam alert would be everywhere. But you need 30 minutes to record an episode. And let's say you need 30 minutes to plan it. You might want 30 minutes to plan, 30 minutes to record. That's just an hour a week. Once you're set up, that's all you need. Now, I've got some tricks and hacks for that, by the way. So recording talks, taking chapters of a book, taking blogs and making them podcasts. People who comment on your social media saying, hey, Rob, will you cover that? Rob, what does that mean? I go, well, that would make a good episode. I'll nick that. Someone said to me in Clubhouse a couple of days ago, Rob, what are the step-by-step processes of doing a perfect pitch? And I talked through the 5 steps of doing a perfect pitch. And I thought, That'd be a great podcast episode. So if you commit to working with me, if you allow me to help you, if you just commit to starting, I can guarantee you, there's lots of things I can't guarantee. I can't guarantee how much money you'll make. I can't guarantee how many listeners you'll have. I can guarantee that if you follow my steps, this will take you no longer than an hour a week. And you're going to take that hour a week out of wasted time. So net, it takes you no extra time. I've got so many different hacks of taking existing content and turning it into podcasts, and doing podcasts and turning it into existing content. Next slide, please. Right, if you click through here to the, I think there's more bits on the right-hand side. I think there's maybe, oh no, there isn't. Forgive me, my bad. Go back. So I don't have time to talk through my launch model because it takes me about 3 hours. I have got a 6-stage, 7-figure launch system. I've launched 25 books, 17 of my own, and then my speaker partner trainer books. I've launched dozens of podcasts for me and my clients. I've launched £1 million plus products, and I've got a system. And by the way, it's taken me years to get better and better and better. And I have done many failures along the way. Now, it took me about 3 hours to talk you through it. There's 6 stages, which you can see on the 3rd bullet. There's pre-launch, open, close, waiting list, and reopen. There's scarcity, urgency, fear of missing out, bonuses, open and shut model. There's various elements, but it's a proven system and it works. As long as you can get into a critical mass of viewers or listeners, it works and it will get you to number 1 and it will get you many listeners. But it's completely separate content really to my podcast talk. So here's what I'm going to do. And I hope you enjoyed this and see the benefit of it. But anyone who joins me and takes the next action and is like, do you know what? I want to work with Rob. I'm going to start my podcast. I'm all in. And I want to build this mission out to the masses and monetize my message. I'm actually going to give you my 6-stage, 7-figure course, which I have sold for I think I sold it for $1,795, as in 1,795 plus that UK pounds. I'm actually going to give you that if you work with me. So stay with me on that. But yeah, that could be quite a nice sweet bonus. Just I got 75 minutes. What can I say? I could do 75 hours. I got a world record for speaking. So could you click to the next slide, please? Right. So why doesn't everyone start a podcast? I hear you say, or everyone, oh, Rob, I don't know what equipment to use. It's so technical. Well, if I can do it, I'm not even operating these slides. I'm clearly not good enough with the clicker. I just use simple software and hardware. So keep it really simple. Time, you do have the time. If you work with me, this will take you no extra time once you've done the training and education and you've started your podcast. So you have to set to forget, once you've built the house is done. You live in the house for 100 years. You rent it out for 100 years. So once you've built your podcast, it's done, no extra time. Some people do say, well, Rob, I don't know what to say, or why would people listen to me? Well, I'm pretty good at helping people find their genius, find their passion, and turn it into a profession. And I've got at least 15 ways that you can do that. And then other people say, I don't know if it'll be worth my time. Well, if it takes you no extra time per week, then that obviously isn't true. And they don't know if they can make money out of it. So let me help you then. I have left millions of pounds on the table by not monetizing my podcast earlier. But I suppose what was good about that was it made me creative. Instead of just doing ads, which everyone does, it made me creative and think, okay, how can I build an ecosystem? How can I monetize it and make millions? Because I've done over 3 million, but not be hard selling and it be a bit more organic. So I can help you with all of that. All right, next slide, please. So people work with me because I've got a proven system. It gets results. I've got 620 episodes. I've got one of the biggest podcasts in the UK. I've helped, 120 people who have a podcast live. I've trained 600 plus people. I've been doing this for 5 years, which in dog years is a lot of years. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm pretty in your face. And I'll be honest with you, no one on my watch is messing about. You work with me, your podcast is going live. I was in the WhatsApp group just this morning telling people to get on with it, to get their podcast done. I know you need me to get started. Once I did, then, you know, the friction is going to be gone. It's going to be so much easier. So, you know, people who know me know, you know, I will get in your face a bit and I'll call you out on your shit. Because I think it's important. You know, don't work with me because you like me. Work with me because we get results. You should be doing content only and getting good guests, and everything else should be outsourced. Leverage my time, leverage my resources, leverage my mistakes, leverage my team, leverage my money that I've spent and invested and wasted, and be part of a collaboration, a movement. You know, what is it they say? Alone you can go fast, together you go far. And let's be honest, I know most people listening here haven't started a podcast. And by the way, if you have and it's not really going well and you're not really making any money and you're not really enjoying it and you're not really got that many listeners, I can help you explode your podcast. Next slide, please. So Katie Hill used to be a presenter on Blue Peter in the UK. She was massive. And she WhatsApped me a few days ago and she said, Rob's a total inspiration. He inspired and literally forced me to start my podcast. I procrastinated for years, felt like an imposter. I'm an ex-celebrity, but now I'm live with my podcast called Limitless. I'm making sales and I wish I'd started sooner. Thank you, Rob. I did a clubhouse room with her a few days ago. I love stories like that. I help a lot of celebrities, by the way. Someone said to me on WhatsApp this morning, Rob, you seem to be surrounded and know loads of celebrities. I think they come to me. It was Suzanne Shaw, who used to be in Hearsay, one of the most famous reality TV bands. She said, all rich people want to be famous and all famous people want to be rich. So I think a lot of famous people come to me because they want to be rich. And yeah, I probably want to be a bit more famous. I'm honest about that. Okay, next click, please. Chapo Trap House. Let's click through on this slide and see what these chaps have done. Political podcast. All their funding is from Patreon. They've got 23,000 patrons from the website Patreon, and they make $102,000 a month, $1.2 million a year. Come on, chaps, smile. I'd be smiling much more if I was doing, like, I'm not doing directly from Patreon. I should focus on my Patreon more. So yeah, it's just amazing the different ways you can make money on podcasting. Click, because there's more. There's more. I'm not finished. Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income. By the way, all these case studies I'm showing you, they monetize a different way. So what Pat Flynn does is he's got a podcast called Smart Passive Income. He talks to you about being an affiliate, promoting other people's products. He publicly declares what he earns. So he'll do a podcast saying, hey, I'm going to promote Rob Moore's Disruptive Entrepreneur merchandise. And so he sells it to you on the podcast. And then he publishes next month the amount of money he makes doing that. He made $167,000 last month. Click that. I think that's 2.1 million. Is it something like that a year? He made $2.1 million last year. No wonder he's wearing a nice tie and shirt. Honestly, this is amazing. Right. So when all is said and done, more is said than done. Could we just go back, sorry, to the start of this slide? You're even too fast for me, Trigger. So when all is said and done, more is said than done. To know and not to do is not to know. So now you're at a crossroads, because I've got 11 minutes left and I'm going to finish bang on. So you've got a decision to make in 11 minutes. Thanks, Rob, for shouting at me for 75 minutes. I'm just going to carry on with my life and nothing's going to change and do nothing. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And maybe the results won't change. Or you're going to, you know what? I'm going to change. I'm going to commit. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this launched. I'm going to work with Rob. I'm going to have some faith that we can, make money out of this. By the way, you only need to sell one thing or two things to get all the money back. So it's kind of like a no-brainer, but you have to make a decision. So if you could click by click, so click with me as opposed to all the slides. Yeah. So 5-year anniversary of my podcast. It is right now. Next click. I've not done it like this before. I have created a brand new online podcast course. So I used to do podcast courses in my offices in Peterborough with the lockdown, I've created a brand new online course. I've literally offered it like 3 times. It's updated, brand new modules, and you can immediately download it and you can accelerate your immersion and get started fast. Literally, you could be started in 11 minutes time and get this done. Next slide, please. So if you want to set up, share, scale, and monetize your message to the masses, my podcast Fast Start online course can help you. Next click. You don't have to sell if you don't want to. You can do the trickle-down revenue model like me if you're very British and introverted. You'll learn every facet and asset of being a podcasting powerhouse, and you could have a big following, but you don't necessarily need one. Now, I have sold 600 of these podcast classroom courses for $1,995 plus VAT, and I have not discounted it. And I do not like discounting because I want to work with quality people. I don't like the discount model. I want committed people. But because it's online, I can help you out a little bit, but just stay with me for a moment. Next click, please. So just click through with me as I speak. Here's what you're going to learn on my podcast online course. Unique concept, perfect title, 15 ways to get great content and create it that people love. Next click, please. You're going to learn how to take advantage of the brand new podcasting landscape because it's changing all the time and get a #1 ranked show. You're going to go deep into the 14 ways to monetize your podcast. And you could go from 4 figures a month up to 7 figures a year. Hey, look, if you do 7 figures a month, you can teach me. But, you know, let's walk before we run here. And the right monetization strategies for you. You'll learn how to host, list, syndicate, edit your podcast, put it on all the platforms. By the way, that is really hard. And most people don't know how to do that. So I said to my team, I said, get all the equipment out and step-by-step video as if, Rob, you've got to teach him. I said, go online and go on all the platforms and on the online software and websites and record the screen and talk through step-by-step as if it's me. So it's really super simple. Next click, please. How to edit your show, the equipment, the demos, the walkthroughs from my tech team. I actually have 9 people who are in my podcast agency. We've got a tech team, an audio team, a video team. We've got loads of content from all of them, as well as all of the content creation, the monetization from yours truly. Next click, please. What have we got coming up next? So Nick James, friend of mine, I hounded him to do a podcast. Could you click the slide, please? But he said here, Rob, just want to tell you, thanks to your podcast guidance and mentorship, I was able to get my Empire Builders podcast to #1 in business. And using your launch system, we generated 250 grand in sales for our Expert Empires Mastermind in just 90 days. £250,000 in 90 days, and he didn't even do any selling on the podcast. So as you can see, I have now opened the cart. It is officially open. I have got 4 + 3, 7 minutes left. You have got 7 minutes only to do this, and then it's closing. So I'm going to give you all this entire podcast online course, not for £2,000 plus VAT, but for $995, or in dollars, just a tiny bit more plus VAT. So at any time while I'm speaking, and if you're ready, don't wait for me, go to bit.ly/pod online. That's bit.ly/pod online. Grab this course. You've got 7 minutes only, and then I'm gone, and then this offer is gone. I had a chat with Bernardo before, you know, we did a deal, you know, I've done a special deal for his summit watchers. So I don't do discounts. Like I said, normally I don't like it because I value what I offer. And I know this is worth way more than that. The reason I can do it is because it's an online course and it's already recorded. So there's some leverage in there for me, I suppose, and I don't have to do the sort of 2 days live. So stay with me, though, because I've got more. Click next slide, please. Okay, so just a quick click through. I think this might be let's have a, yeah. So get to #1 in your category. Accelerate. Could you just go back, please? Just a bit quick there. Accelerate your launch process. Be live in under a month. Get heavyweight guests. I'll teach you how to get heavyweight guests. I've only ever paid for 2, and one of those was a donation to his charity. But 120 of the biggest names on the planet I got free. How to merge podcasting in your life so it takes no extra time. How to monetize your passion into your profession. How to do one piece of content and repurpose it 10 times over. Q&A sessions, case studies like Nick's 250 grand launch, or the famous celebrities that I get started on their podcast, and then how to keep relaunching it, keep remarketing it, and make sure that, you keep getting more downloads and more money in the bank. Next click, please. So if you just double click, so it's 1995 for the face-to-face course, but because it's an online, if you click again, I'm doing it for just 995 plus that. So there's the link again, bit.ly/pod online. At any time while I'm speaking, go there. I have got 5 minutes left only, but I have got more for you. Please hit the click again. You'll need to be quick on this. So the last podcast on the left, just click through. These guys kill it. They have a fiction podcast. They have nearly 8,000 Patreons. They bring in, what's that? 600 grand a year, $600,000 a year, just talking about true crime and horror. I mean, there is literally no niche. Okay, left-handed cross-stitching, only on bank holiday Mondays on leap year. Maybe that's not a show, but anything else could be a show. Next click, please. Joe Rogan, the daddy of podcasting, made $30 million in 2019, and in 2020 sold the rights to Spotify for $100 million. There is no limit. It is just so exciting. Next click, please. All right, now get this. Do you remember I told you there are 3 ways to work with me? The mastermind, the online course, or the agency done for you. Well, get this. If for the first 15 people that do this right now, and you need to do this right now, I will be counting, can only do this for 15. If you could just click through, I'm going to give you that podcast media mastermind completely for free. You're not going to pay 6 grand for a year. You're not ever going to pay 6 grand. You're going to get lifetime access to the podcast media mastermind. And I'm not going to charge you any more money, but it must be for the next 15 people only. If you've already done it, you're in. If you haven't done it, I'm doing it next 15 only. So if you could click again, I think the link will come up. bit.ly/pod online. Go there right now. Get the online course, which is half price because it's not face-to-face. And the first 15 of you will get my podcast media quarterly mastermind completely for free, not just for a year, but for a life. Now, mentoring with me is 40 grand. My inner circle mastermind mentoring and mastermind program is now 25 grand. It's just gone up from 20. This is 6 grand a year for the initial enrollees. But because it's now online and the world has changed, I'm able to make this offer for you. So could you click again, please? I'm almost finished. Kev Clifton, probably one of the most famous celebrities in the UK, Strictly Come Dancing, also Dancing in the Stars in the US. He's a podcast client of mine. I got his podcast live. We must be at nearly 100 episodes now. So if you could click through to Kev, next slide for Kev, just click through all the bullets. Kevin Clifton Show, consistently ranked high in the charts in multiple categories. He turned down Strictly this year. He's building his own personal brand, and now he's monetizing his personal brand. He's using a collated strategy, which is based on his podcast, to grow his own media empire. Next click, please. So I've got some bonuses for you. Now, just stay with me here. Just click them when I say. So not only are you going to get the podcast online course, and at a 50% discount, you can see the link at the bottom. And not only are you going to get the mastermind for life for the next 15 people, click again, because I've got more for you. I've got even more. I have a one-off course called Concept Creation Accelerator. Anyone who's stuck with the concept, I will basically, in a little group of us, do an online training until you've got your concept nailed so you can start. That's £1,000 for that course. I mean, let's be honest, I'm worth a lot more than that. Also, did you remember I said I have that video course of launching a product like a book or a podcast, my 6-stage, 7-figure video course? You're going to get that free as well. Again, if you're in the first 15. Next click. I can't be giving away any more shit. No, there is more. Even surprised myself. And also, I'm going to do 90 days well, it says one-to-one. It's me, you, and a few other people in a WhatsApp group. And I am actually coaching one-to-one. So let's have a look here. I wonder if you can see this. Let me find the podcast group. There you go. Podcast Fast Start. So you can see there's a WhatsApp group. And the green is me. You can obviously see the green comments there. The green is me. I even do voice memos. So I actually am coaching you. You're not coming to my house and sitting down all the time, but I am actually coaching you. And what's the point of this 90-day coaching program? To get you live. It's literally to force you. Once you're live, you're like the baby chick that flies out of the nest and you'll be gone. Gone in a good way, making loads of money. Don't forget me when you're making loads of money. And all of that is still just $995 plus that, but you must be one of the first 15. Next click, because I literally have 1 minute left. Now, some people say, Rob, I'd love to do this, but, you know, 995 plus that, just at the minute lockdown, that's not so easy for me. So I've got a staged payment link as well. I've got your back. I've thought about you. Now, you have to pay just a little bit more, but I can help you out. I want to help you out in lockdown. I want to do what I can to get you started, because I know once you're started, like me, you know, I like to do lots of different things. I'm on Clubhouse. I'm on doing Instagram. I'm doing TikTok videos. I'm trying to raise my kids. I like building Lego. I'm doing working out. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. But every week I do my podcast without fail. So I just need to get you started and I just need to help you. So that link is a different link. And that's where you get the stage payment option. Now it's cheaper to pay in full. So all of you paid in full, you're good. But let me just summarize with this. Just click with me. It is the perfect opportunity in lockdown to finally build your brand. I believe if you try this on your own, you'll probably never do it because you haven't done it yet. And if you have done it and it's not really flying, then you haven't done it right. Now, I'm not saying this is easy, but I am saying it's a simple process. Maybe you just need guidance and support, and I've been there and I've done it. Next click, please. Stand on the shoulders of giants. Leverage the trail already blazed by other people who are doing it for real. I've trained and mentored over 120 successful podcasters, and 600 people have come through my podcast course. So it's not like a massive global thing, but it's enough to show proven results. You get me mentoring you in the WhatsApp group with the 90-day coaching program and in the quarterly mastermind at 99% of my normal mentoring fees. Like I said, once you started, you're going to hardly need me. That's why I'm prepared to offer that. Maybe you missed the Facebook boom. Maybe you missed the YouTube boom. Maybe you missed the Instagram boom. Do not miss the podcast boom. It is a fair warning. Don't talk to me in 5 years. And say, you know what, Rob, I missed out. Don't be that guy. Cool. So there's the link, bit.ly/podcastrm. I am all done. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I'm so excited and passionate about podcasting. I'm so grateful to Bernardo and the team for helping me get this message out to the masses. I really believe podcasting has become a centralized hub of your media empire. Woo!
That was amazing. Amazing energy, man. No wonder. I saw you drinking water non-stop, of course. I mean, seriously. Rob, obviously extremely passionate about podcasting, massive knowledge. And I think at the end of the day, what people need to is obviously learn from the best. You've got a phenomenal track record, and you're obviously not only passionate about it, but, you know, you're very generous with what you're offering. I know, you know, it's taken you years to build, you know, the expertise you have. It's taken you years to build the following, and obviously the experience, the knowledge, the connections, which people underestimate, you know, the people you can connect them to. So that's something that's already worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, I know how much it cost me to build the Best You brand over the last 10 years. So congratulations with your great work. Congratulations with a great presentation. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people today and over the next couple of weeks and months to come and work with you. So thank you so much, Rob.
And thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. And if I can help anyone in any way with anything, I'm always here. What is it they say in America? Slide into my DMs. I didn't know what that meant 30 days ago. So, yeah, thank you, Bernardo. I'm really, really grateful to you.
Brilliant. Great. Take care. All the best, Rob. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation from Rob about podcasting. If you've seen the whole recording, you've seen the whole talk, take action now. Look, we don't have a lot of time. We're going to be playing a very quick, just 1 minute video about the Best You TV, about the Best You TV, because I've got some guests that are going to be joining me, and we're going to start bringing them in one at a time, and I'm looking forward to it. So Best You TV, we'll be back in a minute. Thank you.
The Best You TV, a TV channel with only the best business leaders and influencers ready to help you rise to the top. Available now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play. Are you in the personal development world trying to reach a larger audience? Are you a motivational speaker, an author, therapist, coach, or business guru tired of pushing out content with little results? Gain more clients and expand your business today. Get your show or content on the Best You TV.
So this is being streamed live on the Best You TV, and everything that's happening is recorded and will be uploaded to the Best You TVs from the weeks and months, from years to now. You can still watch it. Now we're launching, and I'll play a commercial in a little while, not yet. We'll be launching the Best TV series. Now this is one of the programs that we're launching in the Best You TV, and we're launching it in Q1. Now this is 4 programs which are the best coaches, the best authors, the best speakers, and the best mentors. So it's 4 shows, and we're highlighting 20 individuals in each of those shows. Now we've got a number of them that are joining us here today because they've already signed up. We're going to start producing their programs, and we're going to start highlighting them in the Best You. Now these are leading experts, either coaches, authors, speakers, or mentors. And we want to bring them, give them some kudos. I want to thank them for being involved, and obviously create some awareness of the amazing work that they're already doing. So let me bring my first guest in, Dr. Cheryl Wood, and I'll do a very quick intro. So Dr. Cheryl is an international empowerment speaker, TEDx speaker, 13 times best-selling author, and American #1 developer of transformational women speakers. She equips women with the tools to unleash the power of their voice, transform lives globally with their story, and monetize their knowledge, experiences, and expertise. Dr. Cheryl, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Bernardo. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. Where are you?
I'm in the USA. I'm in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Great. Well, there we go. Best You Virtual Expo. It is virtual, and you're in Washington. I'm in Spain doing the Best You Virtual Expo in London.
I love it. I love international, right?
Absolutely. Well, listen, normally, our events we used to have a lot of people flying from all over the world as well, international US speakers and European. But anyway, we're all working from home at the moment. So, Dr. Cheryl, we're delighted to have you involved in the Best You TV series. Which show are you going to be involved in?
All things women's empowerment and helping women to develop economic independence for themselves through entrepreneurship. So wherever that lands me, that's where I'm going to be, Bernardo.
Well, look, we're excited. The idea, obviously, of us moving, evolving, going into, the new reality that we have now, that live events aren't going to be here for a little while. But apart from that, the growth of television and potentially the idea of connecting with millions of people that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to connect to through Roku, Apple, Amazon, the iOS, is obviously very exciting to us and for us. So what does it mean to you, and how do you intend to kind of reach your audience through television, and how are you intending to do that?
Well, it's just like you said. One of the things that I teach my clients is this: you've got to stop fishing in the local pond, and you've got to start fishing in the global ocean. I know that all of us have a unique gift that we are meant to share in the world that will allow us to play at our full capacity and be our best selves. And a big part of that is making our lives bigger than ourselves and being able to touch as many people with our unique fingerprint as possible. So having this opportunity is going to allow me to reach people who otherwise would not benefit from my God-given gifts and talents that are meant to impact, inspire, and elevate other people. So I'm super excited to be aligned with so many phenomenal people. My coach, Lisa Nichols, is here, a part of this platform, and some of the other things that you guys are doing. And I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to make my voice count. For as long as I have life and breath in my body, that is my mission in life.
Well, listen, I'm very excited. I shared this morning in my own talk, I was talking about how we need to give women, we need to give them more of a platform. I'm saying us men in general, because, we've already messed up the world quite enough. We need more women leaders. You look at all the countries that basically have dealt with COVID, for example, the best ones are all the ones managed by women. And
Right.
I really believe, and we're going to be running, and you probably haven't even heard this yet. I announced it in our last virtual expo. We're going to be running in 2022. We're going to be running the Best You global expo around empowering women in the 21st century. So it's going to be a global expo, which we're going to cover throughout 72 hours in 5 continents. So that's our objective for next year, thinking bigger, going further, and streaming it all on television. So we're delighted to have you part of that team and involved in supporting us.
Thank you. We're just getting started. We have so much work to do. People need hope. They need to be motivated, inspired, and reminded of their brilliance, and that the world is still moving and that they are still needed. And so I'm glad that you've created this amazing platform to allow people like me to have a voice, to touch their lives, and to remind them to really keep reaching for the stars. Thank you so much, Bernardo.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I'm going to invite another guest to join us now. I've got Christopher here. I want to bring him in because Christopher Lembeck is a former entrepreneur, started coaching people and business and finding their passion. People come to him for personal and professional advice. And Christopher, apart from that, he is one of our hosts. He's the host in the Masters, Mentors, and Influencer. Hey, Christopher, how are you?
Yeah, good afternoon. Very well, thank you. I'm just popping in quickly here from my side gig as a host in the MMI platform. So good to be here, Bernardo. And
we're delighted to have you, and we're very thankful for your support. That's what happens when you start working with the Best You. You just don't know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, we get you hosting one of the rooms, and all of a sudden, we give you double, triple the work. Whatever you were doing, let's double and triple that. So listen, Christopher, thank you so much. So you're going to have one of the shows. Is it you and one of the coaches on the Best?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So tell us, what is it you want to do, or what is your message going to be about coaching in the Best Coaches series that's going to be out in Q1?
Well, 2020, we all kind of had to take a stance and say, okay, what am I here for? And I think showing up and being of service was one of those things that we could really do in 2020 and help those that just couldn't see the forest for the trees, and really allow them to step in, as Cheryl was touching on before, that showing up and being the best version of themselves, stepping into their own greatness. So, in 2021, it's now time to really capitalize on that and really come into ourselves and really show up as role models in the new environment that we're in. So in the show in the work I'm doing is really about allowing people to tap into their passion, whether it's they're trying to find their passion or to rekindle it, because that then will allow them to be the best version of themselves they can be.
Well, absolutely, Christopher. And I always say this quite frequently. When we were thinking of the brand, we didn't think about calling it the average you or the miserable you, because people aren't interested in that. Everyone wants to become the best version of themselves, and that's our job. And what we're saying, and I think it was Cheryl was saying as well. I say that this is a time of hope, of giving people hope and ideas towards a very exciting and brighter future. As Napoleon Hill said, out of every adversity comes an equal or greater opportunity. I think we're in a phenomenal time. I'm very, very excited of 2021, and we've got a big rebirth, reboot, reinvention of the Best You to really take it to the next level. So that's our objective in 2021 and 2022. So listen, Christopher, thank you for being here. You're speaking?
I spoke at 12 noon today.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you spoke this morning. Well, listen, you're welcome to stay. I know you've got another job. So if you need to, as they say in English, bugger off, you can. If you want to stay. We're still going to be here. I'm going to invite some more guests to join me. I'm going to invite my next guest. Sorry, go ahead.
I got a bit of a break now, so I can stay on for a long time.
Well, stay with us, please. Thank you. So I'm going to invite my next guest, which is Ana Teresa Dengo. Ana Teresa she's going to be featuring in the Best Authors. She's a management graduate from Harvard University, former ambassador of Costa Rica and Washington, a DC diplomat, currently co-author of A Search for Purpose and life coach. And I'm delighted. Obviously, she's originally from Costa Rica, and I'm delighted to be working also with Ana Teresa in kind of helping her and supporting Ana Teresa. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good. I've got to say, I love your piano there. Very good.
Thank you.
I like it.
It keeps your mind and your body in harmony. So it's important to start the day in a positive way.
Well, good. Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, Ana Teresa, I'm very excited, obviously, about what you're doing and a lot of the work that you've done. Obviously, working as a diplomat and a lot of negotiations over your life in your kind of previous job. But I'm very interested, obviously, in how you are transitioning and how you're helping people in, a search of for a purpose. So tell us a little bit about your book and kind of where you see this going.
Sure. The book is called Turn the Page: How to Create, Embrace, and Step into the Next Chapter of Your Life. And it's basically targeting women after retirement. And in particular, women who have had, high level careers and very sort of busy lives. And all of a sudden they find themselves after retirement. So now what? Now how do I continue making a contribution? So that's how the whole thing started. First of all, in my own transition, and then people came to me and they started seeking my advice. So it started creating first an informal coaching service, and then it became a lot more sophisticated and growing. And then I started working with you. So that was the other aspect of it. And then it turned into a book, which is sort of a guidebook on how to. I wake up every day. I said, okay, fine. I have two choices today. Either I survive or I thrive. So what do I need to do to thrive? So I need to dare myself to grow, dare myself to take action. So this is it. I'm just inviting other people to join me. And the empowering woman aspect for me is a very important one, because I, as a woman, I started treading into a man's world since I was very young, because I studied engineering and then I went into the nuclear field. So I know it can be done. And I'd like to be a role model for other women.
Well, Andresa, we're delighted to have you. I'm very excited also the fact that obviously eres Latina, and we're going to be tapping into that Spanish-speaking market as well. We've already got a lot of content on the Best You TV for the Latinos, and I'm very excited about the Empowering Women event. I've got to say, over the years, and it's just grown exponentially, I think we've probably had close to 65%, if not 70, even 65% of all our speakers have been women. One of our most successful room has been the Empowering Women. That's why I'm going for this big global international event, and I'm counting, no pressure, on ladies like yourself to come and make it happen. So excited about that. Now, look, I'm going to play very quickly one of the commercials for the Best TV series, and then I'm going to invite my next guest, which is Barbie Layton. So we'll play this commercial and we'll be right back.
People want to be the best, become the best, learn from the best. That's why in 2021, the Best You TV will bring you its new TV series that will feature the top and the best speakers, coaches, authors, and mentors. Coming soon to the Best You TV.
Well, that's the show that we've got happening in this Q1, and these are all the people that we're bringing you are the best coaches, the best authors, the best speakers, the best mentors. Again, because we do want to call it the average speakers. No. We just bring you the best. The Best You brings you the best. Now, Barbie Layton, I'm going to do a brief intro. Barbie Layton, she's on the Best Speakers series, and she's a humanitarian, a counselor to women who serve life sentences. And with a degree in spiritual psychology, Barbie is helping people manifest wealth, dream homes, dream jobs, and narrowly avoid illness. Barbie, how are you?
I'm great. Wow, you made me sound amazing.
Barbie, I'm going to say this, and I have a lot of other people here, but hopefully they're not listening. You are amazing, okay? You are amazing. I'm a massive fan of yours. I know you're a massive fan of me. So there's a lot of love going on here, Barbie.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Barbie, and we're delighted to have you. So you do some great work, and you build great relationships with so many great people. Over the years, you've studied with so many. I know you're a big follower of a lot of big platforms as well. But I love what you bring, Barbie, and I love, kind of what you're going to be bringing to the Best Speakers series. So what do you understand is happening, and what are you doing, and how are you contributing with your beautiful message?
Well, thank you. That is so beautiful. Well, as an intuitive life coach, one of the things that I find as my gift is I'm a super connector. So I was just talking to Christopher yesterday about somebody that he did a podcast with who's doing a certain business. And then I said, oh, I know someone in the United States that has licensing for such and such. And then boom, 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 all of these different things. People can just, connect with each other. And it's literally just because the universe wills it. It's not for anything. It's not for percentages and all those other kind of things. It's literally from the perspective of generosity. We have to have that reciprocal, that what's coming in goes out, what's coming in goes out. And I think that as people are pivoting, they're looking for their different directions. And when you have a message that you can bring out, it's almost like it's people call it viral in a positive way as opposed to a negative way. And I was able to do Christopher's podcast, The Alchemy Experience, Bend It Like Barbie, if you want to check that out. And then I just did another one in the United States. And next week, I'm going to do another podcast in Australia. And it's not specifically for anything that I'm saying that is completely unique to me. But ultimately, as Dr. Wood was saying, we have our own individual soul footprint. We have our own message that needs to be brought out. And for those people that need to find you, they're going to find you. But you have to have an opportunity to be in that global stage to be able to have that opportunity for people to find what your message is. So that to me is so, so important. And being able to bring that out. My number 1, 2, and 3 is to have people re-fall in love with themselves, reanimate the dreams that they thought had died inside of them, and become the VIP of your own life. That is to me the most paramount things, because I realized that so many people had to deal with doom and gloom with the pandemic, and you're looking at mortality and how people are thriving. People are doing both at the same time, simultaneously, almost like they're living in parallel universes. So your choice, your vibe is completely your choice as to how you want to do this. So connecting with other people that are also doing the same thing, absolutely brilliant. So that's why I'm so excited to be a part of this, because I feel like everything we did in 2020 was a tear down and go down to the brass tacks. And now 2021 is the building and the execution and seeing that vision actually come to fruition. That to me is like, even just saying it, I just get so excited. I'm like, woo, I can't wait to see who we're going to be at the end of this year.
I love it. No, and listen, I believe in exactly the same things, and you are an amazing connector. You've connected us to a lot of friends, since we started collaborating. But apart from that, no, I actually believe that. I think, kind of a lot of us were thinking, oh, you know what? Once we get this year out of the way, everything will be okay. No, reality check, 2021 is still here. We've still got a lot around. There's a lot of vaccines and a lot of arms had to be put out there before. We had a speaker this morning, Christine, who was actually in Australia. In Australia, they've had no COVID. They don't do COVID down under. And they were doing parties, people out on the street. And I'm thinking, parties? What does that mean? What is it? I know. So we still got a long run till we get there, but I absolutely agree. We've gone through the experience. Hey, this is it. This new reality is here. What are we going to make of it? So I'm very, very excited about what's going to come on the other side. 2021, 2022, exciting. So thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Cool. I'm going to play a very quick commercial. No, we got time. Actually, I'll bring Fiona Campbell in first, and then we'll do a very quick run. So Fiona Campbell, she's an NLP coach, trainer, communications expert, and leadership development facilitator. She's been delivering training and business coaching internationally since 2003. And let's see if by her accent, you know where she's from. Hey, Fiona, how are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
We got to stop.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to see everyone here.
Lovely to see you too. You look
and
lovely.
This is an incredible, thank you. This is an incredible event that you've put together. I'm so delighted you've been able to take it from us all meeting in London to be able to do this online. So it's just made it huge.
Well, thank you. Yeah, listen, I got to say, I prefer to run virtually because of my level of stress. I feel that the gray is reducing and my hair's growing. But when we used to have the live expos, I remember I share this story. So my first expo, I didn't sleep for 4 months. We had 50 speakers, 50 exhibitors. I went out to the main door, was obviously registration is important in the morning for any of that run events, that. I went to the door and there was 6 people, there was 10. And 6 of those were my staff, and 4 were like people trying to get in. I thought, oh my God, no one is coming. Who's going to kill me first? Eventually people started coming in throughout the 2 days. 3 days actually, and we had 3,000 people show up, and then my last event, which we did live in Olympia when we could all get together in Olympia in London, I went out to the door because we were running a little bit late in the opening, and I was a bit concerned about, oh my God, there might be a few people in the door. I could not see the end of the queue. So I had to walk to the other side of the pavement to see the end of the queue. You know, when you see these concerts and you see like 2,500 people in a queue thinking, what's going on there? They were coming into the Best You Expo. And I remember I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I didn't even photograph it or share it. I had to go and run in. So look, this is obviously something that, you know, we're doing out of, well, first of all, the Best You Expo, it all started in London. So we're delighted to be back. We've got a big, massive following, obviously, in Europe and in the UK, and we're very excited to be back. But I'm very excited that it's so international. You know, we've got people from all over the world here. So Fiona, I love that you, obviously, we know each other from our NLP background, from my other company, NLP Life Training, and obviously your NLP training. So I love what you're bringing, obviously, within the best coaches. And I know what you're doing. We've got your courses also on the Best You Online. So tell us, what is it for you that you're going to be sharing as far as a coach is concerned, and obviously with your NLP expertise on the show?
Okay. Most of my focus is on business, because people are really having to reestablish their values. Leaders are having to lead in a completely different way. So it's bringing the value of coaching within specifically a business environment to help people become empowered, to help people take personal responsibility, and to really help people make the transition that's happening, whether they like it or not, that we're going to be working in a completely hybrid way now. We're not going back to the old way with all the meetings and all the traveling all over the world. There's still going to be a lot of that, but there's going to be a lot of trust has to come into leadership. Trusting people, trusting your staff, and building relationships within a business where it's no longer are people being managed, they're actually working within a relationship where everyone's taking responsibility. So it's a massive mind shift that people are having to go through. I work internationally. I work out in the Middle East and also in the UK, and we're seeing the same situations happening everywhere I'm working. So it's really teaching people, bringing the sort of very simple, very easy skills, really using within neuro-linguistic programming the power of language when you're speaking to people to help motivate them, help them feel really empowered, which is phenomenal. And also bringing a lot of this into women in business, because we're starting to see now women are getting the flexibility. They're starting to understand the benefits of the flexibility in the working world. But there's a big battle going on with the old guard, the old command and control. They want to keep things going where there's the breakthroughs has happened. So it's helping people become empowered. Well,
thank you, Fiona. I was about to say that the old guard, you know, they're getting old, aren't they? So with love, you know, that they won't be around for a long time. We need new blood. We need new ideas. And listen, kudos to Dr. Richard Bandler here, who we both worked with, trained with, you know, the co-creator of NLP. I've obviously learned a lot from him. I was his promoter for 10, 11 years, sat in every seminar room. So obviously he's put a lot of embedded commands in there. Now, we're going to play a very quick commercial about the best TV. Actually, you know what? Let me just show you very, very quickly. So look, on the Best You TV, apart from obviously having episodes on the best TV series, the best coaches, authors, speakers, and trainers, where we individually highlight these great people, we also have channels. We have shows. So one of the shows that we got is one from Mas Sadaji. Mas Sadaji is the founder, the creator of Emotional Intelligence. He has a massive following all over the world, all over the world. He spoke at the expo in London a few years ago. And I remember there was like 300 or 400 people, and there was only capacity for 150 people in the room. There were so many people waiting outside. And then when he left at the end of the night, there were still people queuing outside on the door. So Mas Sadaji, who's got 1.5 million followers, is actually going to have his own show on the Best You TV. So we'll just play this very quick commercial and we'll be right back.
My passion is to set people free by helping you transform any area of your life more effectively and faster than anything you've tried before. I do this by unique abilities gifted to me through 2 near-death experiences that allow me to help you change your frequency, changing your life.
So Mas is going to have his show coming soon to the Best You TV. I'm going to introduce and bring my next guest. I'm going to do a brief intro, Pablo Rosero. So Pablo is the CEO, founder of Co-Creation Station, a mastermind aficionado and co-creator. Pablo managed a successful web startup for almost 5 years in Ecuador before directing 5 startups simultaneously in the US, while getting a Master of Science degree in accelerated program. Big tech companies have trusted his expertise like Disney, Interactive Adobe, and Google. Pablo's life mission is now to help others discover their calling. Pablo, how are you? Oh, you're still muted there, Pablo?
Hey, Bernardo, how's it going? Great to be back here.
Very good to have you back. It's always funny because we speak, Pablo, and I know you're from Ecuador. So, you know, originally, obviously, you got that American accent very going on there as well. So another bilingual Latino. Pablo, we shared a conversation last week. I love a lot of what the things that you're doing, obviously, around creativity, about these masterminds, about really boosting and creating vast, massive change, you know, in a great way. So we love that you're featured, obviously, in the Best Mentors, because that's what you are. So tell us a little bit as far as what is a good mentor and what do you do in order to help people stand out?
So my job as someone that is having a growing tribe and community focused on co-creation is never about me. It's about enabling people to become mentors to each other and to help each other to focus on something higher than themselves. Like Cheryl put it very, very beautifully at the beginning of this panel. Really finding their calling and then going beyond their personal journeys to create something bigger than themselves. So during the networkings, we suggest people to connect one-to-one, but always thinking of the win for everyone else based on the fundamentals of co-creation, which are the win for you, the win for the other person, and the win for everyone else. After that, we bring it to the next level with the masterminds, where we have guided topics based on co-creation, and we also support each other every week on the challenges that we have. And very active examples of beautiful co-creations, like the one we're actually having right after the Best You panel appearance tomorrow with the Co-Creation Station team, which is at noon tomorrow, Saturday, US Eastern, or 5 p.m. UK time. We'll be right back here on Best You. But right after that, we invite everyone to a beautiful co-creation experience where painting, poetry, sculpting, writing is all original compositions created in real time by multiple people around the world. And it's such a powerful experience because it's not only the interconnectedness of people around the world creating beautiful things, but it's also energy stacking, because the music is inspired in the painting, and the painting is inspired in the sculpting and the writing. It's an absolutely beautiful experience. So I invite everyone to also join us right after our Best You panel tomorrow. And you can already sign up for it. If you visit cocreationstation.co, you'll see a little pop-up that mentions this special event. And it's also going to be starting with a meet and greet, of course, to have some time to chat. But then it's just free-flowing music and art and painting and sculpting from the spirit and from multiple people around the world. And people can also participate, actually. So if you feel inclined to write or to paint or to do any of these activities, bring your tools and be open and ready to let your heart flow, and also to co-create and to share with others.
Well, Pablo, thank you so much. I love your energy. I love what you bring. And I will ask you all, I know you've already mentioned your panel tomorrow, but I will ask you all to share when you're speaking as well, so we can, whoever's watching here live can watch it. I want to bring Arif Anis before. Arif is a globally known corporate leader and author of I'm Possible, Follow Your Dreams, and Made in Crisis, human capital expert, coach to heads of states, movie stars, and CEOs of Fortune 500. And Arif is going to be featured on the Best Coaches series as well. Arif, how are you?
Hi, Bernardo, and everyone else in the room. I'm great. Welcome back to London.
Well, yeah, listen, well, I'm delighted to be there. I've got to say I am cheating. I've got the beautiful sunshine outside. When I leave here, I can go out to the terrace and get some sunshine. But I listen, I do miss London, I've got to say, although I don't miss it necessarily now. So, Arif, you've done a lot of things. You've promoted some great people over the years. You've connected with great people. I mean, you've promoted the biggest names out there. And I know we've been following each other for quite some time. And I'm delighted that you got involved and you're getting involved in our Best Coaches series. And it will be kind of a pleasure and honor for us to highlight you too as well. What does it take to be a good coach as far as you're concerned?
Wow. Okay. In a nutshell, actually, in 2021, somehow the definition has changed. The Harvard Business Review actually put the 3 most important skills for the next decade. And that includes data literacy, and then it includes crisis leadership, understanding what crisis is and how to wade through the crisis. And then it is understanding global economy. So right now, what I'm actually doing, that is after publishing my recent book, Made in Crisis, that was released some 3 weeks back globally. I'm actually focusing on preparing people, leaders, teams, corporates, organizations, to actually survive and thrive in the times of crisis. Unfortunately, whatever happened in the last 1 year, as we all are going through these turbulent times, the global economy and almost everything that's known as a system, it had a car crash. And it's imperative that during this time, we could manage to hold onto the ground and harness our energies and survive these times, not merely to survive, but eventually thrive in these times, but turning it around. And as I mentioned, the Harvard Business Review, what I've personally seen, observed after going through more than 152 leaders and organizations and their success stories in the last 1 year time, as I would mention that there were around 1,260 billionaires created in the last 1 year, when almost hundreds of billionaires actually lost their wealth. This time, which is very uncertain, this time, which is turbulent, this time, when we exactly don't know what tomorrow looks like, this is also the time when we can all manage to come together and harness this momentum and make something worthwhile out of it, turn it around. So yes, what I'm actually coaching around, this is how we all can be made in times of crisis. And this is what I deal with right now, made in crisis.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the billionaires have done okay, haven't they? I mean, the billionaires have become triple the billionaires that they were, all of them. They've done extremely well. I mean, poor Jeff Bezos, who's just resigned as CEO, but they had 100 billion in Q1. So, there's a lot of billionaires out there. I hope that what comes from this as well is an understanding of more redistribution of wealth. I think a lot of the things that's happening on the stock exchange, where this whole Reddit thing of backing a game and kind of I think there's a new reality coming, very, very well in the next couple of years, which, as we've been talking about, is going to become a reality, I think, this year and next year. So it's very, very exciting. I'm just very conscious of the time. We've got another talk literally at 3 on the dot. I wanted to. So who's actually, if you don't mind, just put your hands up. Who's speaking? Pablo's already mentioned it. Fiona, you're speaking. Share with us when people can watch you over the weekend.
I'm on today at in half an hour, and it's thinking about your thinking about 3:30 UK time, and the talk is thinking about your thinking.
Brilliant. Is that on the empowering women or
empowering women?
Well, thinking about your thinking, I love that. I share that. People should be thinking about what they're thinking about, because a lot of time they think about a lot of crap with love. Yeah. So thank you, Fiona. Looking forward to your talk later on today. So if you're watching us live, you might want to watch Fiona at 3:30. Dr. Cheryl?
Yes, so I will be on the Masters, Mentors, and Influencer stage at 5:15 p.m., which is 12:15 US. And I'll be talking about creating your greatest impact by making your life bigger than you. And then I'll be back here Sunday at 4 p.m., which is 11 Eastern time, USA. And I'll be talking about how to 10x your purpose and profits by unleashing the power of your voice.
Oh, I love it. I love that. Okay, so double whammy with Dr. Cheryl and Barbie. You're on the main stage later on today, aren't you?
I am, yes, and that's something that is super amazing. Started off in empowering women, and now I'm on the main stage. Woohoo! And so I'll be talking at 5 p.m. UK time, which is I think in the next 2 hours. And my talk is, if 2020 didn't break you, how can 2021 make you?
I love it. I love it. Brilliant. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the Best You family. Thank you so much for being involved in the Best TV series. I can't wait for us to record all these shows, to get them out there and literally create massive awareness and really help the world become a better place. So thank you for all your contribution to everything you're doing.
Thank you, Bernardo.
Thank you, Bernardo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Well, listen, we're going to finish with a very quick video commercial. Now, this is just simply one of those commercials where we're going to be talking about the best TV. And it is literally just to position a little bit more about all the great things that we're doing with the best TV. And look, we're very excited. This is being streamed live on Roku, Apple, Amazon. We're going to be soon on iOS. But a lot of these talented people that you've just seen here with me, these are all people that are going to be featured on the Best TV series, which is coming soon, also Q1. So let's play a quick commercial about the TV, and we'll be back in a minute. Thank you so much.
The Best You TV, a TV channel with only the best business leaders and influencers ready to help you rise to the top. Available now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play. Learn and grow from in-depth interviews, documentaries, inspirational talks, and motivational masterclasses from the world's biggest thought leaders, speakers, teachers, authors, coaches, and highly successful business gurus. The Best You TV is now live.
Well, we're going to leave you with a commercial. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with Johan Ingerfries, the founder of UK Health Radio.
The industry of personal and professional growth through our magazine. To be more, to live a life without limits.